Yes, come on, get in there. How's about that? Boom. I got this picture of me and you. I wrote I love you. You wrote me too. I think I'm turning Japanese. I think I'm turning Japanese. I really think so. I think I'm turning Japanese. Turning Japanese. I really think so. No sex, no drugs, no wine, no women, no fun, no you, no wonder it's dark everywhere. Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. I am alive, well and truly. Boom. Oh my goodness, there's already a few of you here. Hello, everyone. If any of you are interested, I will be live with Isaac tomorrow. And so I have been reading this in preparation, which I don't know if it's showing. It's Michael Axworthy's Revolutionary Iran. It's pretty good, pretty interesting. Axworthy taught at Exeter and died just before I got there. He died very suddenly at a semi-young age. Pretty interesting guy. He's got a couple of good books. One is about Nada Shah, which is a very interesting topic. Why is my chat not working? Start chatting now. Chat. Okay, that's... Okay, right. We just got it working. More boyfriends content. Yeah. You forgetting TikTok in 2026? I haven't entirely forgot it. I often have a desire to make them, but I'm going to be frank with you. TikTok is a dog shit platform, and I can give you a perfect example of this, of why I hate TikTok. Okay, some of you will know her, but if you don't know her, Dumb Birchtree is a great content creator on TikTok, but I just want to show you... What the fuck? Isabel Palestine. She may have had a video bang, but I just want to give you an example of why I wouldn't bother with TikTok anymore. Okay, this is someone who is clearly very popular on TikTok. They have a video with 2 million recently, another in a row with 2.2 million. Okay, that's very good. That's very, very good, you know. Those are well done to her. She's got a few recently with multi-million views. Great for her. Great for her. She now has videos that are doing 5,000 views and 30,000 views. That's not normal. That's not how you should exist as a content creator on the internet. She is clearly someone who has had sustained popularity for a very long amount of time. I myself would just experience this over and over again. No, I want to talk about the 12,000 killed in Iran because I don't think it's really true, and there's kind of something interesting to be said about Bari Weiss, you know, and what she's up to. That's why I have it there, and why there's a question mark after it. But yeah, there are... Okay, right, I'm probably going to have to change the type. I'll add Bari Weiss claims... Bari Weiss media claims 12,000 deaths in Iran. There you go, I've changed it. There probably are not 12,000 dead in Iran. Well, most likely there are not 12,000 dead. I'm just bringing it up for the specific reason, of pointing out what's going on. But yeah, hi, Irene. But yeah, as this video essay for my channel, I feel existential dread. As this video... Do you think TikTok still get you if somehow backdoor information about the situation in Palestine, or would you think TikTok still get you if somehow backdoor info? What do you mean? What do you mean by that, Hermio? I'm not sure what you mean by that. 300,000 dead. They really did it. I mean, 2,000, maybe 3,000. But once again, the only reason I want to talk about it is because of Bari Weiss. But yeah, I just want to point this out, like, this is not normal for a world of being a content creator where, you know, you can have 500,000 followers and you can't build up any sustained platform. You can have no understanding of how popular your videos actually are because the TikTok algorithm has decided that no one wants to watch them, which doesn't make any sense. It's literally just because she makes political content that people are, you know, that people don't see it. And this was a constant theme of the Chris Kunzler TikTok. I haven't been on it in ages. I've lost a few hundred followers. Oh no. But yeah, like, I mean, mine's done numbers because I haven't really been posting on it. I will get back to it at some point, but yeah. 12,000 doesn't seem too unrealistic. I mean, I would err on the side of caution because the 12,000 number has been circulating for nearly 2 days, and a lot of people who don't like Iran and want to see regime change there are continually posting are like ignoring this figure. Stitching exists on TikTok. Yeah, it does. On YouTube. Alright. Reporting. Okay, sorry, I was just tweeting. Reeling off your content, TikTok. I'm not sure what you mean by that, if that's a joke. I'm starving him to death. My fat cat is crying for food like I'm starving him to death. This is slander, yeah. Unfortunately, that's kind of the way that cats are, isn't it? They always be whining. My friend's cat is always whining. They have a very, very, very beautiful cat. My favourite cat, even. Okay, we're going to start with slant. I don't know why. Okay. No. The Iran news is so depressing, and so much of the commentary is so wildly blatant, cynical, opinion suggesting. What do you mean? People are stealing my content on TikTok. What can I do? Report them to a platform that literally does nothing about your content getting stolen? I don't care at this point. Like, on YouTube, people can react to my content and do whatever they want. Like, it's just, like, straight up ripping it and re-uploading it on TikTok. There's a guy who uploads all my reels on YouTube, and I said he could do it. I just don't like how they edit them to pretend that they've, they edit them to make it look like they made them on TikTok. It always worried me that one day as well, I would get banned on TikTok because someone would, get one of my reels and say that the actual reel I made was the fake one. I always worried me that might happen. Come from and be accepted. The 12,000 dead number comes from Iran International, and Bari Weiss is reporting that 20,000 are dead. That would be biggest massacres of protesters in history. I assume, would that be the biggest massacre of protesters in history? I don't know. Would it be the biggest massacre of in history of protesters, of non-violent protesters? Would that be? The stuff involving Maccabi Tel Aviv is such a joke. Mauve, thanks for a great guess. I don't think it is that, but thank you for forcing me. Oh, okay. Arrive can't be right because the V is not there and it also doesn't have an E. Okay, so I don't think it starts with an A. And it might start with a V. Viola? Let's go for that. Not that I think it's right because it can't have a... But I just want to see if the V's in the right place. Oh my goodness. So it's... A... Oh my god, it's a void, I think. Oh my god, right, it was really simple. Would that not be Rwanda? Well, was it... Was it a massacre of protesters in Rwanda? Is that what sparked the genocide? Because there are, of course, like, bigger massacres, but a massacre of, like, protesters. Genocide. I don't know enough about the Rwandan genocide. If it was to, though. But, like, yeah, that would be... I assume that it's massacres of protesters in history. I don't know. I mean, Yemen would probably have very, very, very high numbers. But I don't know. I genuinely don't know. What am I going to do? Ask ChatGPT? I genuinely don't know the answer to this. Okay, right, we're going to go to the connections. Hi, Kunzlers. Hello. Also, can't believe we've almost hit the goal already, which is just insane. So, thanks for that. I set it up for a whole month, but expecting it not to get up there. Yeah, I probably don't plan on watching videos of the Rwandan genocide. I think MKMT has family in Iran. Do they? Hello, Elab. Hello, everyone. Okay, you can't see this, can you? Fuck's sake. Let me move up here. Oh, there are 4 Grisham novels. Are there? I've not read a Grisham novel. Firm partner. No, wait. Client, consumer. User. Account. Is that it? Yeah. Receiver of goods and services. They got a letter in front of a word. Okay. The firm. I know that's a Grisham novel. DXR in the chat. Is DXR? Where's DXR? I haven't seen DXR in ages. X Rider. Tell you the biggest protest to genocide is the unborn babies dying every year. Maybe it would tell me that, Anna. I'm not even sure. Okay, let's look. Maker. Why is it firm, fast, tight, secure? Oh, fixed. I'm guessing it's not a Grisham novel. Nice, nice, nice. Hello, Silent Scythe. And yes, I hope everyone's doing well. Is DXR actually here? I haven't seen him. The issue is you don't know what's going on till the last minute. The news doesn't warn you. Government doesn't warn you. Not knowing is when you'll be hit is what kills you. Was to fool you. But I've never actually seen where I can actually find for clearly, and it's still wrong. Yeah, I mean, sometimes there are 4 that go together that just aren't the partners. Tar. What does tar mean? But hello, DXR. You are here. Good to see you. Been a while. I despise Iran, but this level of lies and swallowing, have we forgotten Gaza? The utter lies. Yeah, I mean, also just, it's so funny, like, watching all of these people who are like, do protest, like, why aren't you protesting in favor of Iran? And it's always people who didn't protest or do anything for Gaza, like, at all. Like, people who actively worked in favor of Israel, and they're like, where are your protests now? It's like, what are you talking about? Why didn't you protest then? You're not even protesting now. Okay. Frosty. Mistletoe, snowman. Movie, things you do on Christmas. Oh, fuck is it? Oh, mist, frost, snow, rain, you're right. Starting with weather conditions. Oh, it's not things you do on Christmas. Silent auction, silent movie, silent partner. Okay. Okay. Protests for both. Well, it's kind of like in the context of Iran. What would you actually protest for? What, in favor of more sanctions? I don't really think sanctions are very effective. Like, even if you take the most cynical position on sanctions, right? Sanctions have, like in the case of Iraq, right? People just became way more reliant on the regime. In Iran, the context of sanctions, like it just harms the middle class, and there'll be an elite of like shadowy companies. And like the concept of a shadow fleet, right? Like how accountable do you think that is to really anyone? All of these fronts and fake companies, like people are just going to enrich themselves, and it's not really going to have the effect of destroying Iran. It's just having the effect of bringing huge amounts of people into really unbearable, untenable situations. Okay, right. We've got a banger to start off with, which is Stephen A. Smith getting confused about Christian Kirk and Charlie Kirk.
That's what we saw. We saw Charlie Kirk catch 8 receptions for 144 yards.
No! Charlie's back? Charlie's back? What? Charlie's playing in the NFL? I didn't think he'd recover from that injury for, maybe 6 to 8 months.
Yeah. We saw
Christian
Kirk. I'm sorry. I apologize. Oh my God. Christian Kirk. Yeah. We saw.
I like how he said, "Oh my God." Really tough times. Really sad things going on. Just reminding me of him. Okay. Then we had this banger video.
Ladies and gentlemen.
If you're wondering what the context of that is, it's a video of Trump pretending to be Joe Biden. That's what the video is. This is the context.
Remember the speeches Joe would make? First of all, they'd last a matter of seconds,
Sorry about the one ear.
Thank you very much. You ever notice Joe would always cough before a speech? State of the Union, he gets...
And then there are some libs that are like mocking a man with cancer. My God. And it's like, okay, bro. Okay. That's probably not the worst thing. Oh, but Trump has been on a bit of a madness. The last few days. Where's my charger? I need to charge my phone. Sorry. So, sorry, I'm just going to check that no one's texting me about anything. No one's texting me about anything. So, Trump was at the Ford factory yesterday, which produced a multitude of good clips. You have cancer, no joke. I don't know if that's true, but I'm sorry to hear if that is the case. I hope that it's that you're doing as well as possible. You can't really make out what he's saying, but they're calling Trump a paedophile defender. And it clearly gets to Trump. He flips him off and allegedly says, "Fuck you" as well. The guy apparently has a GoFundMe with already $50,000 in because he's been suspended from his job. But incredible things are happening over in America. The devil is on his way out. Can only last on the surface so long. Yeah, I mean, maybe Trump is on his way out. I don't think Trump is very well. As my 2026 prediction goes, I think Trump either dies or has such a large health scare that he's not in a good situation. not in like a capable situation of leading, and then is cooed by Rubio or Vance, probably Vance, but yeah. But we did get another interesting video, which reaffirms something that we all knew, which is obviously the People's Queen, Katie Miller, and the People's King, RFK, delivering us some groundbreaking interview content.
Who has the most unhinged eating habits?
The president. The interesting thing about the president is that he eats really bad food, which is McDonald's, and then, candy and Diet Coke. But he drinks the Diet Coke all times. He has the constitution of a deity. I don't know how he's alive, but...
Yeah, I mean, I think the reason that Trump is alive is because he has the best doctors, probably some of the best doctors in the world, with 24/7 care to monitor every single thing that's wrong with him. And also because, I mean, human beings used to survive a very long time smoking for considerable amounts of time, in spite of how awful that is for you.
Yes, but, and he's at Mar-a-Lago. He says that the only time that he eats the junk food is when he's on the road, and he wants to eat food from big corporations because he trusts it. He doesn't want to get sick when he's on the road.
Jesus Christ. I mean, if that's true, that the reasoning behind it is because he doesn't want to get sick, that is amazing, because I feel like if there is something that is going to make you sick, it is eating huge amounts of McDonald's whilst you're traveling.
But when he's at Mar-a-Lago or at the White House, he's eating really good food. So I think...
Biggest load of bullshit in the world.
You get this, if you travel with him, you get this idea that he's just pumping himself full of poison all day long, and you don't know how he's walking around, much less being the most energetic person, any of us have ever met.
I also really find it funny that loads of people are just around this, kind of do this cult stuff of pretending that he's really healthy when it's very, very, very evident that he is not healthy, that he is in quite a bad situation.
We have now money.
I mean, he was also talking to Dekupil. Is that how you say this? Dekupil yesterday. He had a brilliant confrontation with him. I mean, sorry, even just on this pause frame, Trump is not looking great, and I know a pause frame might make anyone, and it might make anyone look bad, but it's more just his face. Like, he doesn't look healthy.
We have now the hottest country in the world, and a year and a half ago, our country was dead. We had a dead country. You wouldn't have a job right now. If she got in, you probably wouldn't have a job right now. Your boss, who's an amazing guy.
Isn't this guy's boss Bari Weiss, who is not a guy? Trump, that is erasure. That is an erasure of an amazing, amazing lesbian lady, one of the strongest and best journalists in the world. Dekupil? Whatever it is, it sounds like a fucking Star Wars character's name.
Might be bust, okay?
Might be
That's
what?
how bad. Might be bust. I doubt it in his case, but you never know. Let me just tell you, you wouldn't have this job. You wouldn't have this job, certainly whatever the hell they're paying you.
It's really good that the big boss man is also making sure that he knows that the media, that anyone in the media knows that they owe their job to Donald Trump.
Our country is rocketing right now. We have the hottest country in the world. If they got in, we would be Venezuela on steroids.
Jesus Christ. He is becoming increasingly boring, though. I mean, maybe he was always like this and I just didn't observe him enough, but he just keeps saying the same things over and over again. Venezuela on steroids. But this exchange gets even better. Also, CBS just interviewing Trump is insane. Just like over and over again.
I'm just trying to be fair here. Just trying to do my job, and I want to talk about this assembly line here.
Also, letting him know that you're being fair. Like, it's just a really pathetic interview.
Vibrant. Listen to the sound.
It's incredible, right?
I love the sound of an assembly line.
It's incredible. But they've got one not far from here. They just idled the electric vehicle plant.
Well, yeah, but it's going to gasoline vehicles.
Yeah, it's going to go to gasoline.
Well, but why don't you say that, Tony? You can't say.
You didn't give me a chance. I'm coming there.
Like, literally just disciplining this guy for not quickly enough explaining, oh, the plant's been shut down for gasoline, to replace electric vehicles with gasoline. By the way, a terrible choice.
I'm coming around.
I agree. I said I want electric and I want gasoline and I want hybrids. I want everything. But you were going to be forced under the mandate to buy an electric car in a very short period of time. I didn't want that, and I ended that. Now people can have electric, they can have gasoline, they can have hybrid.
But are they going to have people to build these cars? The CEO of Ford said not long ago he's got 5,000 open mechanic jobs. He can't find people willing and able to fill them.
That's a good thing, Tony. That means it's vibrant. You could also
I like his new use of a word. He's learned a new word for this one, at least. Vibrant!
have things where you have so many people and they can't get jobs. It's true. We are doing so well, it's hard. Now, what's going to happen...
We're doing so well, it's hard.
Doing so well, it's hard. Now, what's going to happen is people are being trained rapidly, and you're going to have a thing called robots, and robots are going to be a big factor. I predict that robots are going to be a big factor in the future, and it's going to help out. But you have a situation now where our economy is doing so well that it's not that easy to get people.
Apparently, I think all of this bravado and bluster is in part, as I've said before, 2026 is probably going to be a bloodbath for Trump. The tariffs are about to have their major negative blowback. He's probably going to bomb Iran. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to be convinced that he's going to do it or not, but it does look like it if we choose to believe what the news is reporting. But it's hardly going to be a good idea because they've withdrawn all of their support from the area.
New this morning. What about the kids? Perhaps no group swung more in the 2024 election than younger voters. They were decisive in Donald Trump's win. We've got new data this morning on what they think now. With us now, CNN chief data analyst Harry Enton. There have been some pretty big shifts here.
Yeah, these guys are swingers. That's what we're talking about here. Take a look here. Generation Z. John liked that. Gen Z, party ID margin, Dems versus the GOP. In 2024, look at this. It was just a 6-point margin between the Democrats and Republicans. Democrats just led by 6 points. Very small. Remember, Donald Trump did very well for...
Where's my Kalshi integration? What's Kalshi saying? I need to know.
A Republican candidate amongst the youngest part of the electorate. But take a look here, 2025, hello, a huge widening of the lead for Democrats among Generation Z, tripling their lead on party identification from 6 all the way up to 20. That was, in fact...
Yeah, the main reason that this doesn't in any way excite me is because... The reason that this happens is because people have a perception of wanting to return to some kind of normality, but the Democrats aren't going to do that. Like, the Democrats will just maintain the status quo and then they'll fuck everything up and they won't get elected again.
The largest shift, considerably more so than any other group. Yes, there was a shift in the overall electorate, but this more than double the shift that we saw among the electorate at large towards the Democratic Party.
Okay, and we said it was decisive for Donald Trump. How have opinions shifted toward Donald Trump among this group?
Okay, so this, in some ways, you might say this, this doesn't necessarily apply to Donald Trump. It absolutely does apply to Donald Trump. I mean, he has just fallen off a cliff when it comes to Generation Z. Look at this. Donald Trump's net approval rating in February of 2025. John said...
What is the major driving factor of that? I guess for like young right-wingers, him just being massively pro-Israel and stuff, not really changing anything and doing nothing major to improve people's lives,
Said it right. Wow.
This was actually a month into the administration.
This was a month into the administration. He was at plus 10 points on the net approval rating.
Yeah, it's kind of the problem. The Democrats, what are the Democrats doing? A whole lot of nothing. Yes, this is kind of their strategy. The Republican candidate does badly, loses the election, and then is replaced by a Democrat who fails.
He was on the right side of the ledger. Look at this. Falling off that cliff, that is a drop of 42 points to negative 32 points.
I'm not going to lie, listening to this, the Kalshi integration literally makes it feel like it's a betting company ad. I know there isn't actually a Kalshi integration on this, but it really does look like a betting company ad, and it will look even more like that when it has that.
On the net approval rating amongst Generation Z, my goodness gracious, this, as I said, is a very swingy group, and it has swung very much away from Donald John Trump.
Love that.
But yeah, Democrats need to act now. They won't. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure some of you have seen this. I didn't cover it yesterday. I'm sure it really got lost in the news cycle. Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton are just refusing to testify about the Epstein files. After saying he would and allegedly going pedo kamikaze, Trump has really, Bill Clinton has really changed his mind. So this is the things talking about. Oh, here we go. Over the last year, blah, 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 blah. Despite everything that needs to be done to help our country, you are on the cusp of bringing Congress to a halt to pursue a rarely used process literally designed to result in our imprisonment, blah, blah, blah. Indeed, bringing the Republicans' cruel agenda to a standstill while you work harder to pass a contempt charge against us than you have done on your investigation this past year would be our contribution to fighting the madness. We have tried to give you the little information we have. We've done so because Mr. Epstein's crimes were horrific. If the government didn't do all it could to investigate and prosecute these crimes for whatever reason, that should be the focus of your work. I mean, I'm not reading, bro, I ain't reading all of that. Just testify. You cannot dismiss the notion that you didn't have like a strong relationship with Jeffrey Epstein that the public deserved to hear about, you know?
And we have...
But the Republicans are saying, Comer is saying, we're going to hold both Clintons in criminal contempt of Congress.
Bent over backwards to try to schedule the Clinton. No, I'm still talking. I'm still talking. Go ahead. Hey, get him out of here. You're not even a reporter. Get out of here. So here's the situation. We're going to hold both Clintons in criminal contempt of Congress. We believe that because this subpoena was issued in a bipartisan fashion, the Democrats acted the day that the subpoenas were voted on in the subcommittee like they wanted the Clintons to come, because they at that time, if you go back, they were wanting me to subpoena the estate, which I did. We subpoenaed the estate and got all the documents, everything. That was what the victims asked. That's what the Democrats asked. I think that's what the American people wanted. We subpoenaed the estate, got 100% of the documents. I have subpoenaed the Department of Justice and Pam Bondi for the documents, which they are producing. Now, we don't like the speed. We all wish the documents would come in quicker, but we've gotten tens of thousands of pages of documents from the Department of Justice.
You also filled them with redactions, many of which made absolutely no sense. TrueAnon's recent Epstein episode was kind of going through this stuff. A lot of the redactions included information that was just already public, you know? Thomas Massey had a pretty funny video, though, on this topic.
How's it going? Happy birthday. Thank you.
Oh, fuck.
How's it going?
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
So Congressman, in the last 2 weeks, you repeated AOC's talking points on Venezuela, and Jasmine Crockett has retweeted you. When will you change your party affiliation to Democrat?
I thought you knew. I vote with Republicans 91% of the time.
seems...
And the 9% I don't, they're taking up for pedophiles, starting another war, or bankrupting our country.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's still a Republican, he's still a piece of shit, but simultaneously, this is quite a funny video.
How about that, Congressman? We'll see.
Are we going to impeach Pam Bondi for not releasing?
As Mao said, political power flows from the barrel of the vote. Vote AOC, vote Bernie, vote Zoran, vote Platner, we will win. Zoran did do one thing that's, like, kind of semi-exciting. Apparently Beitar, as in the far-right pro-Israel group, The one who you may know from the classic video with Brace Belden where Ross Glick is harassing them. Apparently it's been forced to shut down. The New York Attorney General, Letitia James, has effectively forced Beitar, the New York-based extremist group, to shut down its non-profit operations in the state. The agreement bars Beitar from instigating or encouraging violence, harassment, or intimidation after investigators found a sustained campaign targeting Arab, Muslim, Palestinian, and Jewish New Yorkers. As part of the settlement, Beitar told the Attorney General's office it is dissolving its non-profit and winding down operations in New York and faces a suspended $50,000 penalty if it violates terms. This is just some previous but I mean, this comment is kind of right by Janine Eunice. This is not close to adequate punishment. They basically just have to not break the law and are subject to a relatively minor fine they probably won't have to pay. They still have tax-exempt status with the IRS and will likely continue to operate with impunity outside of New York. And frankly, I wouldn't be surprised if they continued in New York. Considering they openly embrace violence and have engaged in beatings and stabbings, much more needs to be done before this can be deemed a victory. So yeah, not necessarily a major victory, but at least something exciting. This is just some previous reporting on them. From, my God, it's called the Lions Protest Group. We are lions. Beitar are lions too, sir. Share this in your group, please, to leave bad reviews. What color laser? Blue, purple, green, or red? Whatever color you like, but you need to be careful. They are borderline illegal. You can't point it in the sky. I give no fucks with blinding these motherfuckers. Do it. She put off the fire. F her. Okay, right. But yeah, I mean, unfortunately, Beitar will probably continue operating. Also, I really like, it looks awesome. I'm appearing with this epic Laura Loomer edit above me. Amazing things are happening in the Chris Kunstler YouTube channel. But yeah, it's Also, by the way, some of you have brought this up already, so I guess I'll quickly talk about it because there is like an insane aspect to this. So obviously, some of you remember Beitar Jerusalem, not Beitar Jerusalem. They're shit at football, so they've not come anywhere near the UK. I mean, all Israeli teams are pretty shitty. But anyway, sorry, 1 second. The Israeli football team, Maccabi Tel Aviv, was banned from coming to the UK, and the police have admitted, and now the Home Secretary is trying to get rid of them. Now, apparently, the police used an AI-generated fake Maccabi versus West Ham match to justify a ban on Israeli fans. Now, I think that this is actually more of an indictment of the police and probably should provoke a wider question about the use of AI, because AI generating cases to discuss them and using AI in that capacity is insane, and I think that this has wider implications for criminal cases. So, yeah, I mean, kind of crazy. And here's Kez the Socialist. Such an insanely stupid and entirely preventable mistake. He should have already resigned. The ban was obviously justified, but this will now be used as proof it wasn't. The ban on Maccabi Tel Aviv is 100% justified. As I've mentioned before, Israel's own campaign against racism in football declared that Maccabi Tel Aviv were responsible for the most racist incidents in Israel. And this also comes, by the way, in the context of a football team playing there, Beitar Jerusalem, who you can find a huge amount of information online about being one of the most racist football clubs in the world. Yeah, here they come, the most racist team in their country, is a classic song of theirs. But yeah, I mean, this is just an incredibly racist song. This is what team. One of their other songs, by the way, is Witnesses are the stars in the sky. For racism that is like a dream, the whole world will testify. There will be no Arabs in the team. I don't care how many and how they get killed. Eliminating Arabs makes me thrilled. Boy, girl, or old, we'll bury every Arab deep in the ground. So this is the statement of a football team that has less racist incidents than Maccabi Tel Aviv. Now, the obvious reason for the safety of both the fans and the local community, and in order to avoid any kind of flare-up of violence and problems in a community anywhere, is don't bring people who, during a time where there is clearly sustained and large passion about Palestine and about what's going on there, don't bring groups of organised football fans into that area who are going to chant provocative things about killing Palestinians. It's a very, 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 yeah, I mean, please don't use the term juice. I don't like it. I find it weird. But yeah, but yeah, sorry. On the topic of, okay. Yeah, I mean, I just blocked them. Like, that person will never comment on the channel again. About this club sounds like a made-up anti-Semitic story that a Nazi would come up with. No, I feel like juice is just a weird thing to say. Like, it's not like you can't say the term Jewish people, or like Jewish people being racist. It's also obviously not all Jewish people, just the state of Israel. But yeah, sorry, the ban was justified, and just bringing in racist extremists into your country is something that is totally unacceptable. But yeah, it should have been there a minute ago. Doesn't matter, Henry, I sorted it. It's not that busy. Like, don't worry, you're not obliged to always be here, as I said the other day. Like, I will just, I can do it if it's not like the chat is, like, insanely busy. That guy's been here a lot, and he hasn't said anything that sort of extreme all the time. But yeah. But yeah, okay, right. Is there anything else that I wanted to talk about? I'm kind of done with this story. It's ridiculous, it's insane, and there's nothing to be done. Paid associates of the Israeli government in British Parliament will continually justify this thing. They will continue to lobby Parliament. They will continue to waste time around this topic. It's a ban on football fans from months ago. Sorry, I'm just going to blow my nose. What do other streamers do when they blow their nose? I guess not all of them have just had blocked noses. And the country became poorer. It was before the sanctions. Is history illegal in school now? I mean, people obviously don't care about that history, and people aren't going to want to apply that to Iran unless they're really willing to sort of confront that bad things are most likely going to happen as a result of a US intervention, and that their dreams of like I don't know. I don't think we should deny people the right to protest at all, and I don't think you should just unequivocally support people who have undeniably killed huge amounts of people. Is Zio okay? Just say Zionist. There's no need to say Zio. Like, people are going to take it in a certain way. I know most people saying it are not going to be... Like, when I was talking about this with Isaac, the term Zio-Nazi is obviously not racist, but... apparently, AI Overview is telling me that it's deeply offensive, but... Yeah, I mean, maybe just, I don't know. I don't know. Ethan Klein usually eats it. I imagine streamers do what they can / want for streams. I respect wanting some privacy whilst handling illness. Yeah, I just always have a cold. Majority support Israel. Still no prejudice, just basic observation. Yes, it is an unfortunate facet. But just say Zionist. Like, I have no problem. I don't know. There's, like, no reason to put Zion. Also, what the fuck, Chris? You give Henry shiny rocks as compensation. You've given me 0 shiny rocks. What shiny? Oh, yeah. I give Henry shiny rocks. Of course I do. Okay, right. What was I going to talk about now? Oh shit, have any of you seen this? Apparently several of the US and Israeli officials who are going to shape the governance of Gaza were previously central to the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. This comes from the Financial Times. Like, obviously, you know, an aid scheme that facilitated massacres in Gaza that are just going to also... that are now apparently going to rule over Gaza. R.A. Livingstone, the senior US envoy now leading the Gaza team, worked to raise funding and international backing for the GHF. Michael Eisenberg, Liran Tankman, and General Roman Goffman, new Mossad chief, pushed the scheme through the Israeli system. Financial Times says Trump is set to make his personal announcements on Wednesday, so seems we will see that the new Gaza leadership will be revealed. By the way, this isn't going to work. Of course it's not going to work. Just forcing in people who are just unequivocally pro-Israel to rule over Palestinians isn't going to happen. Want to avoid a future ban? Feel inadequate? Invest in Kunzcoin. It will prevent this for you. Yeah, 100%. They've got a goth man in the mix. Which guy is the... Oh, Roman Goffman. Oh my god, it's this guy. Oh, fucking hell. What's his name? This is Liran Tankman. Yeah. Very, very odd-looking character. Generally. Not a great guy. And a really, really horrifying character who will plan and do bad things for the Gaza Strip, no doubt. And then, yeah, I mean, just awful. Awful. And I don't know. There was a video that came out of... what's his name? A reserve general, Amir Avivi, speaking in English. Listen to this.
Tell you all, we are going to win the war decisively on all fronts. I want to tell you something. The war has not ended. The war has not ended yet. The IDF will renew its attack in Gaza, and Hamas will be destroyed completely. There will be no Hamas. I visited the Southern Command.
Once again, this is not going to happen.
Last week, and they're getting prepared, and it's just a matter of decision when the government will command the army to go in and destroy Hamas. I want to tell you...
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't sound that unbelievable. They want to ethnically cleanse all Palestinians, and Palestinians have dug in. And they are not going to be... They are not going to give up on this this desire. It's what they want to do. Yeah. Okay, but this kind of moves us on to Iran, because, I mean, he's talking about winning the war on all fronts. Oh, right, this is now working today. So we'll pull into this second... What the fuck? Sorry, I've just seen a really odd video. I'm going to ban you for being white. Yeah, that's what the channel does. But anyway, we'll move on to the first story. Now, apparently, there are... So CBS began claiming that there are 12,000 to 20,000 dead in... So this originates from Iran International, apparently. They don't know where, like, there's no real serious reporting on where this has come from at all. They just sort of say 2 sources, including one inside Iran, told CBS News on Tuesday that at least 12,000 and possibly as many as 20,000 people have been killed. I mean, this is kind of the danger, and it's quite shocking to see so many people who would have been critical of Bari Weiss getting gifted a media institution that she is running badly, that she has already used uncritically to do propaganda for the government, for the US government, for Israel. Yeah, she's already used it unequivocally to do propaganda for those people. And now apparently we should be believing her on this topic. I mean, even here, look. The ICE agent who fatally shot Renee Good on January 7th in Minneapolis, Jonathan Ross, suffered internal bleeding to the torso following the incident, according to 2 US officials briefed on his medical condition. Bari Weiss, her name is Hasbari, and the Ellisons destroyed CBS for Trump and Israel. Yeah, it's kind of interesting how many people sort of uncritically... Oh, whoops. It's kind of interesting how many people sort of uncritically just started believing this. I mean, most people would criticize, and I think probably, first of all, I was a bit down on, or I was like, oh, you know, the death toll in Iran doesn't look that high, but seemingly with an internet blackout and, you know, a considerable number of security personnel allegedly killed inside Iran, it could well be like a hugely violent and brutal crackdown. But just pushing out the number that 12 to 20,000 people have died is insane. And by the way, this number has been floating around for quite a while, but now all of a sudden it's everywhere. Yeah. It's just all over the place. Omid Jalili apparently cited it on Channel 4 News. Like, look how this number gets pumped out. And, like, you know, obviously when it comes to Palestine, over and over again, we've had the death toll hugely downplayed. Yet when it comes to this, instantaneously, it's repeated uncritically. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, here we go. This is it being repeated on Channel 4.
Putting the IRGC on the terrorist list, it means we're somehow involved with this regime. Do we really want to be in business with these people? They've just killed, reportedly, we don't know for sure, they've just killed 12,000 protesters. Now we come...
Reportedly, we don't know for sure. This is just coming out from like a... This is just coming out of Bari Weiss. This is someone who held back an interview on the claim, oh, no, it wasn't ready yet. Sorry, a 60 Minutes episode about what Israel was doing, about what was going on in El Salvador. They held it back. This is not a trustworthy news source. But, like, I've just seen this, and we might watch this video later. But look how Channel 4 News is reporting this. Iran regime supporter Mohammed Morandi refutes systemic slaughter of protesters. Like, I'm sorry, what? Calling him a regime supporter? Like, I wouldn't trust everything that comes out of Mohammed Morandi's mouth. But, just how that is put out matters. The fact that, like, I don't know, Elon Levy interview. They probably interviewed Elon Levy. Okay. Oh my god.
So where do you...
Sorry, there's a really old video of Elon Levy here that really makes me want to watch it. But I'm just looking. I do not think that this would be done with...
Do you want to...
I do not think that this would be done in the context of, you know...
Do you want to see...
someone who's a supporter of Israel. It's just not going to happen. Oh, sorry. My sincerest apologies. Oh, fuck. So you didn't see the... sorry, I was just clicking through things. So you didn't see the previous one. Okay, so I'll just pull that back up. We'll just rewatch that. Oh, motherfucker. Jalili.
Changing the reality.
It is about changing the reality. We believe in human rights.
By the way, this is someone who called, like, Saudi Arabia modern yesterday.
Putting the IRGC on the terrorist list, it means we're somehow involved with this regime. Do we really want to be in business with these people. They've just killed, reportedly, we don't know for sure, they've just killed 12,000 protesters. Now, we come from a generation where we saw Tiananmen Square, we saw the Berlin Wall come down. We saw these things happen with our own eyes unfold before us. 12,000 is, if that is true, that's a massive, this is one of the most amazing stories ever. But if the Brits don't take any action, and they've been silent so far, British people are going to say, are we complicit?
Yeah. But we know that, especially...
By the way, this is someone who, like, you know... Sorry. I need to blow my nose. This is someone who has, like, barely spoken out on, you know, barely spoken out a considerable amount on Palestine. But, yeah, I'll pin the link. Thank you. Iran is massive, and the protests spread out across the country. I've heard 2,000 protesters killed, which is probably an undercount without news or reporters on the ground. Yeah, I mean, I think that could be an undercount. It could well be, and there are some allegedly, like, you know, I've not actually focused on like previous examples of the previous examples. I've not looked at the death toll. I remember the Masha Amini protest, but I don't remember like reports on the death tolls. But yeah, when it comes to those, like, people are saying that it's reliable. It remains to be seen, and we'll see how much comes out. But who knows? 12,000 is just like uncritically being put out by Bari Weiss, but one has to remember that this is, like, as I say, CBS is not a serious news outlet. CBS is not, like, a serious outlet at all, in any capacity. It is just not. And, like, it's insane. It's truly insane that CBS can do this, because it's then just used for propaganda, like... And, you know, I respect Mark Owen Jones, and he's, like, talking about this. There's no one serious reporting it. No one has really looked into where it's come from, you know? Like, there's not really any explanation of how they got there. And then it's used by... It's used by Alika Lebon to post videos like this. You know, Alika Lebon is someone who has collaborated and supported with the supported in favor of mass killings of people in Gaza, and now it's used by tears streaming down my face. They are saying it's a massacre that the mind cannot fathom, that the 12,000 estimate is a joke in comparison to the numbers killed, and above all, that they outside help. And they need it now. It's just incredible that you can post this, that there's no community note or anything, that, like, the figure is very dubious at best, and it's the only outlets reporting it are Iran International and, you know, Bari Weiss. HRNA, the Human Rights Activist Network Agency, has reported that apparently 2,403 protesters have been confirmed killed, including 12 children. The verified figure also confirmed 18,434 arrests, 1,000 cases of severe injury, and 97 instances of forced confessions being broadcast. Protests have been recorded in 614 gatherings across 187 cities. But yeah, I don't know. All of this stuff kind of just makes me feel like, gosh, we really cannot really trust many media outlets. Like, it's already been used by Ethan Klein to minimize what Israel did. This is more than Israel killed in the first week of invasion, just to put it in context. And then he's posted something about China, Hassan shocking his dog, Cenk, drinking whole milk, and then whatever that is. I'm not watching that. But yeah, over 12,000 feared dead. I don't think that that's true. Categorically, I do not think that that's true. The 12,000 number. The number may be higher than 2,000, but yeah, who knows? Who knows? But even the 2,000 number, so initially that came from apparently regime support. Apparently that came from the Iranians themselves. But yeah. Here's what Morandi's saying. I mean, he's on Press TV. By the way, this guy is affiliated with the Iranian government. He may well not be telling the truth, but he has a lot to say. He has a lot to say in this context. But yeah, I think I'd be careful with anything around the death toll. I think, you know, at first it looked like 500. I just think that the killing of 12,000 people would literally be unprecedented. Unprecedented in human... Well, I mean, in human history, there are examples, but yeah, remains to be seen. Remains to be seen if that's anywhere near true, but I would be very, very careful, especially because the BBC News has not reported this. Most people are going nowhere near it, even though the figure has been out for ages. It's just not being reported anywhere. Like, Al Jazeera doesn't have that much of a vested interest in Iran. It's Qatar. Like, you know, but I don't know. Is there any reporting on the death toll here? But yeah, I don't know. Just, I don't think Bari Weiss can be trusted, basically.
Right does the West have to determine who governs in Iran and who doesn't?
The people on the streets in their thousands who are now being systematically slaughtered in their thousands, they are saying that your government no longer has the right to govern.
Yesterday we saw
something that never escapes me in any context of talking about Iran is just how, like, so many regimes like that of Iran persist across the Middle East that don't really have accountability to their populace at large, that are governments that are basically propped up by huge repression of their population, and obviously are only able to offer them breadcrumbs because of the context of basically being not sanctioned, being backed to the hilt by Western governments and are held up as, like, good and moral governments. But when it comes to Iran, like, instantaneously we're told, oh, they have no right to rule and stuff, and it's like, yeah.
Across the country.
Mossad hijacked peaceful protests. I mean, maybe, but simultaneously there are, like, the Iranian government will use repressive measures, you know, against people there. It's undeniable.
Country. And the footage is online. And it was broadcast live. Even though now people like Musk and others are trying to pretend it was AI or
no, these were people who
footage.
were forced to go out and protest, but people of their own free will.
By the way, there is absolutely, I mean, Channel 4 repeating that. The notion that there are not people in Iran who do actually like the Islamic Republic is incredibly stupid, because one of the other aspects of it is like, whatever you think about the Iranian government, it taps into like a long-standing history of Iran that is not alien to it entirely.
Bravely went out, and in return, the government, your government, has slaughtered them in their thousands.
And unfortunately, counter-revolutions across the Middle East are not treated with the same... Like, when it comes to other counter-revolutionary movements, we don't get this swift condemnation. We don't get major sanctions. Like, the UK wouldn't even stop supplying Saudi Arabia with weapons whilst it just blew up Yemeni weddings.
And for what?
There were 2.3 million people in Tehran yesterday on the streets. And reporters from Al Jazeera English, Arabic, RT, CGTN, CCTV, and others, Al Mayadeen, were there, and they witnessed it. How can you force millions of people on the streets in Tehran
because you instill
and other
fear
streets?
into the people of your country. Your government instills fear.
This is like, Channel 4 News has been one of the better outlets on Palestine, but this is like really just insane. Like, definitely fear and repression play a role, but also simultaneously, people do like the Islamic Republic. It's very hard to know anything about like it's very hard to know the opinions of anyone in an authoritarian country, but just coming out and saying this is, insane.
Into the people of your country.
I think that you are living in an alternative universe and you're drowning in your own fake narratives.
I will say, he is a far more competent speaker than a lot of pro-Israel people.
If you think that the people of Iran support the MEK terror organization or the monarchists that your governments fund and support, I think you really know literally nothing about Iran.
Your government says that 2,000 people are dead. Are you denying that?
Our government never made any statements about any death numbers at all.
So that number apparently comes from Reuters. I heard someone on Twitter claiming, someone on TikTok claiming that actually on state TV they're saying that, but remains to be seen if Iran have confirmed that.
You're talking
it's been
about
reported
Reuters.
to Reuters.
Our government does not report to Reuters, and Reuters constantly fabricates information about Iran, and it constantly says unnamed sources.
So
there are armed Baluchi groups, there are armed Kurdish groups. Guns are relatively common in the population. Guns are very common in quite a lot of Middle Eastern populations, right? Like generally from the days of, Peshmergas, especially in Kurdistan.
The bodies piling up on the streets, that's all AI, that's all fake, is it?
There are no bodies piling up on the streets.
No bodies piling up on the streets. We've seen them with our own eyes.
No, not on the streets. I live in Tehran.
Well, in the morgues,
and by the way, so then rephrase and don't produce propaganda. You're supposed to be a credible news outlet. 100 police officers, roughly, or officers of the law were murdered. 2 were burnt alive. 1 was beheaded. And we had a nurse burnt alive in a clinic. The clinic was burnt down and she was burnt. She was a young nurse. We had a 3-year-old kid who was shot by these rioters, or the people who you call protesters, and murdered in her father's arms. These are violent people.
Let me ask you, 26-year-old Irfan Soltani, 17-year-old Amir Ali Hidari, 28-year-old Naveed Salehi, these people have all been killed for the simple fact that they are demanding freedom and they're using their voices to demand freedom. That's the truth, isn't it?
I don't know the names that you give, and I don't know what happened to these people. I don't know if they exist or not. Just giving names doesn't mean anything.
Well,
but
they're 3 among thousands, and the executions begin tomorrow. And for what? For people wanting to use their voices to demand freedoms that you take for granted.
No, the people who will be executed, if they are convicted, are the people who burned people alive and who beheaded others. We had 100 police officers murdered, or officers of the law.
That is kind of crazy. That number does suggest that, like, if 100 Israeli police officers were murdered by Palestinians, it would be framed as like a revolution, and then tens of thousands of Palestinians would be killed, And
if 1 officer in the United States, it is deemed that the car in front of him may not be turning to the right enough, he can shoot the woman in the head, and people in the United States defend his right to kill her.
You're talking about 100 police officers
murdered.
I'm talking about thousands of protesters who were protesting peacefully, and for their pains, they have been slaughtered by the government, by your government. I mean, these are people protesting because
100 police officers being killed, does not justify killing thousands of people.
They can't eat. They can't live. Inflation is running riot. They can't get on the internet. You're on the internet now. They can't do that. Why shouldn't they?
Well, excuse me, but I'm at a studio. I do not have internet. You know this. You know this, so don't be dishonest. You've been dishonest more than once already. And
this guy definitely does have internet, though. He's been tweeting.
If we have economic problems, it's because your government and the U.S. government have imposed sanctions on ordinary people. You are trying to...
One of you asked earlier, do I think that the economic situation would have been exactly the same would the economic situation have been exactly the same had basically they not sanctioned them? No, maybe not to some extent, definitely not to a major extent, but also the oil boom ended and it's kind of hard to know where that situation would have gone. But like in any capacity opposing Israel in even in any way and refusing to sort of bow down to the Western agenda in the region is always going to be, is always going to be met with sanctions and rejection, so it's hard to know.
Triangle ordinary people.
And ever since its inception, Iran has been sanctioned by the West.
No, I'm talking. Excuse me.
No, the West is responding to the calls from the protesters who are risking their lives to go out on the street.
No,
that is why
these are
Donald Trump
violent
promised to offer
rioters.
help.
Well, you're aligned to Trump, obviously, now. But these are people who were rioting, and these were people who were shooting at police officers, and there's footage of it. And that footage is online. And it's on the accounts of many people, and people can see it. Mainstream media in the West, and obviously your media, since you are trying to create an environment for war and to justify illegal activity on behalf of...
Yeah, one of you who said 2026 is already a bloodbath, yes. Sanctions are, of course, a very bad thing, and they've played a major role in the economic downturn of Iran. But what I am saying is, like, who knows how it would have...
It is utterly ridiculous.
Who knows how it would have gone if it hadn't happened. It's a hypothetical, and I'm no economist. But, like, the end of the oil boom can fuck anyone, and many countries that haven't been sanctioned have also economically struggled. Imagine 100 ICE agents were killed. Imagine the outrage from the right wing and all similar. All West does is hypocrisy. Yeah, I mean, if 100 ICE agents were killed, the right would literally say you can kill thousands of people on the streets of America. But, you know, Iran is also willing to kill protesters, and who knows if that number's 100% true, although, like, a lot of outlets have reported that, and he's said it as well, but he's not giving a number of protesters killed, which is interesting.
Your regime and the Trump regime, you're, of course, creating a narrative of thousands of peaceful protests.
But thank you for the $5, Wings, by the way.
On the streets being slaughtered.
If you don't like my questions, Professor Morandi, let me put to you what the German Chancellor said. Friedrich Merz said, when a regime can only maintain power through violence, then it is effectively at its end.
But also, there's just such a there's such a major irony to this, which is that in order to not be accountable to its people, the Germans have applied huge amounts of violence against pro-Palestine protesters. They have sent their police to regularly beat protesters. Sure, not murder them, but they are regularly sending them in to do those kind of things. And protesters in Germany weren't setting fire to police officers. Once again, not to justify this stuff. Iran does not need democracy. Stop with that bullshit. Like, if democratic countries are better, they can suck hard. Iran needs the world to lift sanctions if you want to help them. I think people want something that is accountable to the population. Like, that's almost undeniable. But simultaneously, like, I think it's more of a mixture in the development of something that's actually indigenous to the Middle East rather than foreign-imposed democracy. So if you're talking about that kind of democracy, then yes, it's not what Iran wants, just like some foreign Western-imposed democracy. And it's not even what will happen there. It will probably just descend into huge chaos. Like, if there is regime change. Or it'll be like or it'll just be a consolidation of power of the IRGC.
You accept your government is nearing its end. It's in the final days.
First of all, who said that I'm afraid of your questions or I don't like your questions? Second of all, who makes the German chancellor any more credible than you? The German chancellor also said when the Israeli regime, the genocidal Israeli regime, bombed Iran while Iran was negotiating with the United States, he said, the Israelis do our dirty work for us. And this is the...
I mean, that is, like, once again, that is a very reasonable point. By the way, a lot of people of you are referencing this. This comes from Tamir Morag on Channel 14 News in Israel. We reported tonight on Channel 14, foreign actors are arming the protesters in Iran with live firearms, which is the reason for the hundreds of regime personnel killed. Everyone is free to guess who is behind it, seemingly tacitly implying that Israel is doing it. I mean, the only thing is remember that any news in Israel has to pass a strict military censor in order to get pushed out into the world. So, yeah, remains to be seen whether that's true or not, but there is certainly a large number of people that have been killed.
The same German regime that gave Saddam Hussein chemical weapons to use against us.
Well,
I survived two of those chemical attacks.
The German Chancellor has been elected by his people, and you accused me of propaganda when many would accuse your government of propaganda day in, day out. So I just ask you again.
I mean, literally, referring him to as a regime supporter, something that you would not apply to others is something that is undeniably, is undeniably doing propaganda. You wouldn't do that for Israel.
Is your government entering its final days?
No, and have no doubt that any strike on Iran, which is illegal, and obviously you're trying to promote it and to justify it, is illegal. And the Iranian people who've come to the streets yesterday to protest against the Western and Israeli-backed riot, we all know that Pompeo, who was the former head of the CIA, said that Mossad is on the ground with the rioters. We all know that Mossad gave a...
By the way, here's an old video of Pompeo.
Our effort in this administration is to make sure that we lay down the right policy for our time on duty, our watch, and I'm...
This needs to go up.
Convinced we're truly getting there. You can see it in the things that are happening inside of the Islamic Republic of Iran. Not only the economic distress, which is mixed. We want good success for the Iranian people, but make no mistake about it, their capacity to distribute terror around the world is reduced from where it was even just 12 months ago.
So you know these guys, right? And so at the end of the day, do you think they're capable of changing this regime?
No, the individuals in this government aren't. And I know I hear lots of talk about moderates there. I just don't see it.
It's moderates in an Iranian context, right?
It's moderates who believe in the Islamic element of the republic. And so once you...
Also, sorry, Reuters is actually now reporting something else as well, which seemingly pushes this... Like, I mean, Reza Pahlavi described it as a war. Armed Kurdish groups sought to cross into Iran from Iraq, sources say. This is from Reuters, so treat it with maybe some dubiousness in a sense. But apparently armed Kurdish separatist groups were seeking to cross into Iran from Iraq. So, yeah, apparently a senior Iranian official, and who all spoke on the condition of anonymity, said neighboring Turkey's intelligence agency had warned the IRGC of the Kurdish fighters crossing the frontier. So, remains to be seen whether that's true or not.
Once you've given up on the capacity for democratic governance and have turned this into an Islamic revolutionary state, I no longer put you in the moderate bucket. Yeah, I think what can change is the people can change the government. I don't see...
Yeah, I mean... The point of sanctions is to create economic distress. The thing is the elite will survive. Like, the elite will enrich themselves, in fact. And anyone who's capable of sanctions evasion is going to do it and is going to make huge amounts of money. Now, there are different contexts. Like, Russia was really hard to sanction because it's an absolutely huge economy. And also, they had massive foreign currency reserves. The amount that Iran has of foreign currency reserves, I assume, is not actually that high. But, yeah... I don't think Pompeo has, like, anything, has any reason to lie. But also, by the way, look at Mike Pompeo now. He looks crazy.
The next generation...
He's been on the Ozempic.
...generation of young people won't remember October 7th in the same way. That's true in Israel and in America and broadly in the world. And we need to make sure two things. One, it's not that we don't forget. We need to make sure that the story is told properly so that when the history books write this, they don't write about the victims of Gaza. right? They can't. The history, and it's I should be.
Just amazing that, like, these are the people who are in charge. These are the people who want Iranians to be sanctioned.
A little more precise. There were victims in Gaza, right? It's true. There are civilian casualties in every war that's ever been fought. But the victims were the people of the nation state of Israel. The aggressor was the Iranian regime in the proxy of Hamas. And we need to make sure that the history books reflect that. And that requires each.
It's also not going to happen. The history books won't reflect that. And it's real cope to actually think that that's going to happen.
Each of us every day to talk about it in real time with our children, with our grandchildren, about it in a way that is serious and thoughtful and complete and moral.
Will you stand with me in condemning the cruel and untrue comment saying Bari Weiss looks like Stavros Haliakis in a wig? I mean, that's cruel to Stavros. Don't say that, please.
Persian.
But yeah, I don't know who's clapping for that.
Language statement saying that its people are on the ground in Iran. And when Iran cut off the internet, and I don't have internet either, on Friday night.
How are you tweeting?
After Friday, suddenly the riots collapsed. Why? Because it was they were not spontaneous. They were guided.
What do you mean we are still debating 271,000 or 6 million? No one is seriously debating whether there were 271,000 people killed.
And organized from abroad. And when the internet went out, suddenly they went blind. And that's why
the protesters have been given succor from abroad because they think they have help coming. So I want to ask you, if the US attacks Iran, does Iran hit US targets in the Middle East?
No, those protesters that you were talking about, they left the scene on day 1 and 2. During the first couple of days when there were protesters about the fall in the Iranian rial, which was carried out by the United States. And this is all a part of a broader plan.
I mean, if Japan and the US can get away with whitewashing their historical crimes, Israel absolutely will. How popular these... Yeah, I mean, those textbooks are not going to be popular. I think that, like, I think a major thing that will actually matter... Well, there is Akil. There is no debate about it. Like, objectively, there isn't. No one is, like, a serious scholar talking about that. There are a very limited amount of people who want to, like, who want to change and alter it. The Nazis did kill millions of people. And, yeah, I mean, help coming from afar is, yes, quite a euphemism.
Those protesters, on the first couple of days, there was no violence. There were no arrests.
So if
there were no
the US
police.
attacks,
there was no police involvement.
If the US attacks Iran, does Iran strike US targets in the Middle East?
So after, as I was saying, day 2, when the violent rioters entered and they started destroying ambulances and public buses and banks and clinics.
Yeah, no doubt. I don't think we should think that Morandi is like a great guy with like brilliant analysis about everything. He is actually pretty good on the topic of like talking about Orientalism and, you know, dismantling certain narratives in the media, especially around Palestine and stuff, and also talking about Iran to some extent. But then also he is like someone associated with the government there. He has a vested interest in portraying it the way he wants to.
And destroying fire engines. That's when the protesters stepped aside and it became riot. And you call those protesters peaceful protesters who murdered 100 police officers and many, many other innocent people.
Can you answer my question about if the US attacks Iran? How does Iran respond? Will it hit US targets in the Middle East?
If the United States...
He kind of looks like the frog from Flushed Away. No, wait. Does he? He does a little bit, I think. Yeah, he does a bit, in my opinion.
Attacks Iran, without a doubt, Iran will strike back very hard. And remember what happened during the 12-day war. Go look at the footage from Tel Aviv and other Israeli cities. And as Steve Bannon himself said the day after the war, the real story of the 12-day war was that the Israeli regime during the last 2-3 days were hit was hit so hard that they were seeking a ceasefire, not Iran.
Well, I mean, that's propaganda in your book, as you describe it. Just finally,
Go and look at Steve Bannon's interview. It was broadcast online. It's not mine.
Okay,
Steve Bannon is no cousin of mine.
Just finally, Ayatollah Khamenei, he's an old man. It's been widely reported that he may be looking to go into exile. Would you see that as a defeat?
Well, you're just making stuff up. He's not going anywhere, and your government and the U.S. government, if they get involved in a war with Iran, global economy will go downhill and collapse. And your people.
Look, it remains to be seen what's going to happen, but obviously there have been some pretty significant points. And I mean, Trump is at a point seemingly, watching that video. Wait, actually, you know what? Watching that video of Trump yesterday, where he was kind of going mental over people who are mental over the guy who called him a pedophile defender. I don't think Trump is like someone who is above and at all being swayed by public opinion. And that taco thing definitely upset Trump when people said Trump always chickens out. And in Iran, he has backed himself into a corner. He said in the context of Iran, oh, if they kill protesters, I'm going to invade. They categorically did kill protesters. So what? Is he going to invade? Is he going to bomb it? But yeah, there have been a few major points to push the notion that there is going to be a major event today, which is first of all, yesterday, the Indians said that India's embassy in Tehran has urged all Indian nationals to leave Iran, citing what is called an evolving situation in the Islamic Republic. Now, I'm sure that this is also here as well, but Qatar. So Qatar, oh wow, so now the UK is now withdrawing its personnel from the Qatar Al Udeid airbase, one of the biggest airbases in the entire Middle East. US troops are being evacuated from it. CBS and NBC are also reporting that staff from Al Udeid are being removed. Now, Al Udeid airbase, I actually want to look at where it is on a map. I can't remember. Obviously, I remember it. I remember it from I can kind of picture it on a map, but yeah, I think it's the biggest base in the Middle East, right? Location in Qatar. Qatar map. Oh, fuck me. Okay, brilliant. Do they have a world map? No, they don't. Okay, yeah, okay. So, Al Udeid is obviously just across the Persian Gulf from Iran. They can just do a strike. They can strike the Al Udeid base, and so maybe what the US views is they're going to do some kind of strike that is basically an off-ramp to reduce the tensions, to make it look like... to make it kind of look like, well, to make it look like, oh, everything's fine now. But it really does remain to be seen, and it's something that's going on tonight. But this isn't also the only thing. Now, Tala Ramadan, who is a Middle East and North Africa breaking news correspondent at Reuters, has said 2 European officials say that a US military intervention appeared likely, with one saying it could come in the next 24 hours. An Israeli official said it appeared that Trump had taken a decision to intervene, though the scope and timing has yet to be made clear. It does look like that the protests have reduced massively in Iran, so this could go one of two ways. This could either be the off-ramp, but this could also be this could also majorly be a part of basically like, well, we want to reignite the protests and show them that we can do this. Iran. I'm out of here. What do you mean? Is this what I think of Professor Mohammed Morandi in Iran? What I think of Iran? What do you mean? What are you upset about with my feelings of Iran? That Iran could ever kill protesters? That there are problems that people have in Iran? Like, I'm going to be frank with you. I would be doing a major disservice to many, like, decent people that I have met and have known who have spoken to me about, like, what life is like in Iran and the difficulties that you face living there and the struggles. And I don't think that that Iran is above criticism, you know? I don't think I have as much optimism and a kind of thing about Syria where it's like, oh, maybe there will be change because Syria is probably going to descend into extreme violence. But if you're really disappointed by my take on Iran, then okay, sorry. I don't think I can sit here and tell you that you can trust the word of anyone who is directly involved with a government, of any government at all, to give you direct and full understanding of what's going on there. Oh, politics, you're here and you've changed your profile picture. But yeah, it really does remain to be seen whether Trump is going to strike Iran. Because, I don't know. Feels like a huge decision to actually do it. And one that would be taken in a very, 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 very dodgy time. Because the assault has not yet worked. But I mean, Trump was talking big yesterday. Trump, Iran video. What? Yes, I mean, unfortunately, Iranians are in like an incredibly difficult situation that it's very hard to see it going very positively in either way, that it may just lead to major destabilization in the country. But I have no doubt that Israel will get itself involved and try and balkanize the country. Trump, hold on. Hold on. I actually really need to pee, so I'm going to pee and then I'll be back to cover this in a second. Well, I'll be back in like a minute or something. Right, I am back. Oh, why is the chat overlay just gone? Okay, right, here we go. It's bullshit that this is happening again. Yes, I mean, it is unfortunately bullshit. It is unfortunately really unappealing. And it is unfortunate that it doesn't look like this will go anywhere positive. So, which is kind of very unfortunate and upsetting. Please tell us what movie. Please tell us what movie you watched last night and what your thoughts were. Well, if anyone's checked my letterbox, they'll know I watched the Iranian film Close Up, and I thought it was brilliant. Very moving and, yeah, fantastic. I really, really enjoyed that, I must say. I gave it 5 stars. Really bizarre film as well in terms of how it was filmed. It makes me fuming with anger. Same lies about Libya under Gaddafi. While people owned their homes, education and healthcare were free. Water and electricity were free, no tax, and now go and... Yeah, I mean, the situation in Libya is terrible. And of course, the media has a vested interest in lying and supporting movements of, you know, movements that overthrow regimes that they don't like. That is the only time that they are willing to do it. They are not willing to do it in the context of any government that they see as helpful to them. Iran is not being attacked because it is the major destabilizer of the MENA region. It is not. It is just like not true. The major destabilizer of the Middle East, North Africa, is the West, and it always has been. And the notion that the responsibility lies entirely with Iran is ridiculous, and that is constantly played up in our media. Orientalist notions and narratives about Islam persist, about how Islam is the reason for the failure of Iran, and Iran has continually been sanctioned. Iran has continually been subjected to attempted regime changes. So this kind of stuff is repugnant, and what it may produce in Iran is horrifying, because look at Iran right now. If there is some kind of regime change, what'll happen? Like, will it balkanize? Will there be huge amounts of refugees? Will there be the creation of, like, a little independent region of Kurdistan? Because Turkey's not going to want that, and Trump absolutely adores Turkey. Syria's not going to want that, and Trump is growing closer and closer with Syria. The only people who might like that is the Iraqi government, and they're nowhere near the power of Turkey. So there'll probably be a huge refugee crisis when perhaps some kind of secular-ish Western-backed monarchy comes in, if that happens. You know, if that happens, I don't know. I genuinely don't know, like, what people expect to come out of this. All of the people in the West who are right-wingers, who support this, who whine on and on about refugees, don't understand that this will produce the biggest refugee crisis. There are 90 million people. Look what happened with Syria. Huge amounts of refugees. What, do we just leave them all to die? Do they go to Afghanistan? Do they all go to Pakistan or India? India's not going to allow in huge amounts of Iranian Shia Muslims. But yeah. Kurds are going to get screwed. I mean, after the fall of Saddam Hussein, I guess Kurds got the IRG, the KRG, but even then, that's not that much of a boon to Kurdish people. But yeah, I mean, Trump's statements on this have been semi-confusing. I mean, I think we watched this yesterday.
The message for the leaders currently of Iran. Yeah, the message is they've got to show humanity. They've got a big problem, and I hope they're not going to be killing people. And I'm going to have a report very soon. It would seem to me that they have been badly misbehaving, but that is not confirmed.
America,
a message for the leaders.
But, like, then this was Trump's other statement yesterday.
Woke up this morning and they saw that you said,
why is it in one ear, CBS?
Help is on the way.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
Well, there's a lot of help on the way, and in different forms, including economic help from our standpoint, and not going to help Iran very much. And, you know, we put Iran out of business with their nuclear capacity, and now, depending on what's actually happening, nobody's been able to give us accurate numbers about how many people they've killed.
Well, on that point,
but it looks
Mr.
like
President,
it could be a pretty substantial number, and that's going to be a lot of problems for them.
A lot of problems. On that point, you did say the U.S. would get involved if Iran started killing protesters. Yeah. They have.
Tony, no, you're going to push him into doing this.
Yeah.
By the many thousands, according to reports.
Well, we'll see what that is. I've heard 2 numbers, but we'll see what that is.
Well, now we're hearing that they're going to start hanging protesters tomorrow.
This really is some of the most cooked audio imaginable.
So it comes back to the question, have they crossed your red line, or has the line moved?
I haven't heard about the hanging. If they hang them...
Oh my God, that was incredible where it flipped to the left.
See some things that, I don't know what where you come from and what your thought process is, but you'll perhaps be very happy.
What do you mean by that?
We will take...
I mean, this isn't an audio freak thing. This is jumping from ear to ear on the basis... I haven't listened to a word Trump has said, really, but yeah.
Very strong action. If they do such a thing, we will take very strong action.
And this strong action you're talking about, what's the end game?
The end game is to win. I like winning.
How do you define that in Iran?
Well, let's define it in Venezuela. Let's define it with al-Baghdadi. He was wiped out. Let's define it with Soleimani. And let's define it in Iran, where he wiped out their Iran nuclear threat in a period of about 15 minutes once the B-2s got there. And that was a complete obliteration, as it turns out, which is what I said initially. Then some questioned it, and they said, you know, Trump was right. So we've been right about everything. We don't want to see what's happening in Iran happen. And, you know, if they want to have protests, that's one thing. When they start killing thousands of people, and now you're telling me about hanging, we'll see how that works out for them. It's not going to work out good.
So what? What happens?
All right, let's get back to our top story now.
Let's see what CBS also have to say about this.
President Trump is issuing new threats against Iran after more than 2,000...
They're cutting the audio like this is really funny. It's really odd. I've never seen anything like it. And Sophie said that it's because they fired loads of audio tech people. But Isaac, once the No Politic Here podcast implodes, get your ass over there.
People have been killed in protests. He has urged people to keep protesting.
But assassinate who? Because if you assassinate Khomeini... I've seen some people who are like more like way bigger Iran experts that are like, oh, there are many figures who kind of view Khomeini as someone who as someone who doesn't do enough. He's someone who's just kind of like old and decrepit, and there are more militant sort of parts of the Islamic Revolutionary Guards, and they might take over and they might be happy to seize power. They might be more engaged in militancy. I mean, this is what Andreas Krieg, who may be on No Politic Here soon, is saying. U.S. military operations versus Iran. Limited standoff or punitive strikes. Cruise missile plus long-range standoff munitions. So his probability is 55%, medium to high. Signals cost fast, but can hand the IRGC an existential narrative. Legitimizing harsher repression, raises retaliation risk, proxy shipping and regional bases, cyber electronic warfare disruption, C2 surveillance censorship, IRGC internal comms, 25% medium lower footprint plus deniable, but effects are uncertain, temporary, and a networked state can root around disruption, risk of blowback, retaliation in the cyber domain. Leadership decapitation, attempt 5%. High volatile, most escalatory, could unify rival IRGC factions, trigger wider retaliation, and still not collapse a redundant networked system, risking hardening rather than pragmatic transition, sustained air campaign, risk high/low political appetite, plus high escalation costs, most likely to internationalize the crisis and fragment the regional security environment. I mean, I guess the only one in here is that Krieg probably should have included is attack through proxy of Israel, but I assume Israel would have been part of all of this stuff. Yeah. Someone said that as well. Those who want those who want nuclear weapons in Iran and versus Khamenei, who does not. Remains to be seen if that is something that's Remains to be seen if that would actually be something that was going to happen. Who really knows? But yeah, it feels somewhat likely. You know, when it previously struck, it didn't really feel like Iran was, the US was going to strike and that they were just going to leave it all to Israel to do. But I don't know. I genuinely don't know. It remains to be seen what's going to happen.
And Iran's foreign minister has warned his country will defend itself against evil and foreign interference. That's a quote. I want to bring in CBS News contributor Joe Zacks. He's the former Deputy Assistant Director for Counterterrorism at the CIA. He is new to CBS. This is now his second appearance on CBS News. Welcome again.
Well, thank you. Good to see you again.
So let's talk about why this particular moment may look different from other recent protests that we've seen.
I don't want to listen. I thought they were talking about Trump getting involved.
It is utterly ridiculous.
Okay, we'll watch for a second. Knox, thanks for the 6 months membership. Enjoy the red labubu. Ironic, certain content creators want protests for regime change in Iran, but don't want other kinds of protests to happen everywhere else. Yeah, I mean, this is the standard problem of a lot of these people in the MENA region. Like, a lot of people don't want to see regime change in Saudi Arabia and all of these places because they're Western allies. Although, regime change in Saudi Arabia might produce, like, the most militant Islamist movement imaginable. I mean, actually, ISIS probably take that up anyway. So Aaron David Miller is a senior fellow at Carnegie Endowment. Administration is thinking about strikes largely to preserve Trump's credibility as a result of President's social media threats to hit hard rather than whether strikes will actually change balance of power between regime and protesters in favor of latter. This is actually, like, insane. And once again, I don't think that people should discount this notion that the strikes on Iran are, or like any of Trump's actions are influenced by social media and him trying to maintain credibility and to hold up this notion that he is not taco, that Trump does not always chicken out. He may well strike it, and it may well be a very bad decision. Sorry, I pulled it up earlier. And this is something that was mentioned in a previous article that I mentioned about Venezuela, talking about kind of the withering of the US empire. But they mention in this article by the WAPO, who've just been raided by the government. Anyway, the Washington Post were reporting about how, like, Trump has withdrawn all Central Command assets, or not all, but most. He's withdrawn a huge amount of, like, military equipment from the region. And so you're kind of at this point of, like, hey, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen here? Like, you strike Iran, and then they can strike you back because you don't have much there. You and Israel coordinate something. They escalate against Israel, and you don't have, like, all those guarantees to protect Israel. Or maybe there's some kind of thing that happens very subtly. He lets it go down, and like, he lets the, like, interest go down and then does it out of the blue. But Gregory Brew said, now that the protests have been squashed, and with the general consensus that a sustained US campaign is unlikely, this conclusion is inescapable. Trump will bomb Iran because of a social media post. Trump feels obliged to take action on Iran. Administration weighs risks of retaliation. It really will be amazing if Trump continues to make these fuck-ups on the basis of social media posts. I think that they might go for something, though, as large as trying to kill Khamenei. Like, that feels like something that might happen. That they may fly over bunker buster bombs. That they might try and do any of those things. I read the title as non-slop news. Yeah, no, no. It is non-slop news. Okay, this is what Zay Squirrel is saying. This is very important to keep in mind, as it will be essential in the next phase of war on Iran. Why did the CIA Mossad unleash its lynching mobs on Iran ahead of a bombing which is set to begin soon? To manufacture consent in Western media and political class for the bombing and give it a pretend humanitarian facade. This has worked from everyone from Bernie Sanders, AOCIA, to Owen Jones, gleefully laundered the atrocity propaganda. Okay, by the way, I think that this account is not necessarily perfect. Like, I think some of the stuff that they've tweeted about all of this being a CIA op is just not true. It's not even true in the context of many people who would feel similarly feel similarly, excuse me, to Zay Squirrel, because they'd be like, hey, there are very real concerns. But remains to be seen. Wait, which Trump tweeted the locked and loaded thing? So on the 2nd of January, Trump tweeted the US is locked and loaded if Iran kills protesters. Iran has obviously killed huge amounts of protesters to some extent, or at least a decent amount of protesters. Like, well, I know it's relatively, it looks like a huge amount, but yeah. But what was I going to say? Oh, sorry. Iran has seemingly killed like a large amount of protesters, but Trump hasn't done anything. So maybe he's going to kill Khamenei or someone senior just on the basis of like appeasing people on Twitter who think he's epic. Like even Alika Lebon is worried about Trump right now. I'm actually going to do a little segment on Alika Lebon because I'm sure she's saying very funny shit. I don't think help is on the way for Iran. I really don't. I think a promise was made, a bluff was unexpectedly called, and that's it. The people of Iran stand alone. Come on, bro. Come on, bro. To try to minimize a rally around the flag national effect as happened last time by giving Gusano collaborators a propaganda script, but OMG, they killed 20,000 of us. They are defending us by killing, and we should help them kill more. Yeah, I mean, that is, like, once again, I do think that there is, like, some stuff here that is, like, you know, there is some stuff here that is true, and that perhaps, like, before the bombing campaign does escalate, if Trump actually does do it, but there are also some things pointing to maybe he won't, maybe he will. It's really kind of hard to guess or, like, know fully what is actually going to happen. It really does remain to be seen as, like, whether this will lead to what's going to happen. And, like, also, look, Marco Rubio has frozen all foreign visa processing, also from Iran. As an adult. Why do you keep asking about the second circumcision? Why do you keep asking this, Greg? What is this? If American people really wanted to see a change in Iran, they would promote non-interventionist policies to allow their people to have a real movement for change. Yeah, and I mean, sanctions, like, I'm not really sure what the argument really is in favor of sanctions, because, like, Iran has been so heavily sanctioned for so long, and it really hasn't had that major of an effect at regime change for so long, but it has certainly brought huge suffering for massive amounts of people. It would be crazy, though, if they just go in and try and just steal Ayatollah Khamenei. Remains to be seen, though. By fabricating a figure of OMG 20 killed by the regime, they have so inflated the death toll for Iranians that it is normalized for their actual massacres. And when they mass murder 40 there, 60 there, they will go, yeah, sure, but it's nothing compared to how many they killed. This is why Bernie Sanders, AOCIA, and Owen Jones gleefully laundering this is so depraved, and thereby they played a key role in normalizing the imminent massacre. Or do you support? But yeah, remains to be seen what's going to happen with this. I guess we'll go back to this video quickly.
In 2009, we saw protests in 2019, in 2022, there was a protest, the women's protest. This feels different. And I feel like the reason why is because you have a president of the United States who's actively suggesting that the U.S. may take an active role in supporting those protesters.
Well, I think you're exactly right in that respect, Vlad. First of all, I want to say that one has to really applaud the courage and the bravery of the Iranian people who are standing up.
I like how there's just some CIA guy here. Bro, you did not give a shit when anyone protested during your reign.
Applaud the courage and the bravery of the Iranian people who are standing up to a very oppressive and brutal regime. So that needs to be recognized. It is different than 2009, 2019, and 2022, largely because this Iranian regime has created such dire economic circumstances for the Iranian people that they just cannot put up with this anymore. And I think that this regime was caught off guard by the intensity of the demonstrations that started at the end of December. And I think that
this guy has a stupid accent.
They are, in fact, buoyed by the president's encouragement toward them. We'll see in which direction this goes, but I have to say that at the moment, the regime is not necessarily on the brink of falling. This is a regime that has its Praetorian Guard, the IRGC. It has its support at the moment, and they have demonstrated a willingness to exceed the violence that of 2019, which thus far had been the highest death count in response to protests. So this can get a lot uglier before it gets better.
You know, a lot of people are familiar with the Iranian government repressing women's rights, social freedoms, and you mentioned the economy is just in shambles right now. Can you expand on how bad the situation is right now in Iran in terms of inflation and even access to water?
Oh, this is shit and boring. Right, let's see what BBC have been up to. I mean, it is kind of incredible that, like, Bari Weiss is Bari Weiss is the source for the 12,000 death toll, and Iran International. Again, I put in the title, Bari Weiss Media, CBS News. It is kind of incredible that CBS has on a former CIA guy, and then ex-MI6 bots is on BBC Newsnight.
President Trump bombed Tehran?
No, we don't want to see war. We don't want to see more people killed. But with all these revolutions, there is always some kind of outside help. If there's some kind of outside help, we'll take it. If Trump wants to do something that will help us, we're not going to say no.
Supreme Leader Khamenei is just implacably opposed to any compromise. So they don't have any room for maneuver. That's why I say it's
regime fading. Do you think?
Well, I think three things about this. First of all, as that terrible footage illustrates, there's simply no limit on the brutality that this regime is prepared to mete out.
You were the chief of MI6. Is MI6 internal or external?
To its people. And it has the guns and actually still substantial support. 13 million people voted hardline in the last presidential election.
He served in Afghanistan, this guy. Like, you meted out so much. You collaborated in the destruction of that country.
So my hunch, I'm afraid, is that they will, through sheer brutality, suppress this round of violence. But to your question, I think it is fundamentally the end of the Islamic Republic, because they don't have the answer. They cannot meet the needs of the Iranian people.
But are you saying this is different from the protests a couple of years ago and the ones before that and the ones before that?
In a sense that they're weaker, they can't buy off their population in the same way.
He does kind of look like busted Charles Dance.
It's different, but the key similarities of Supreme Leader Khamenei is just implacably opposed to any compromise. So they don't have any room for maneuver. That's why I say it's the end, longer term, of the Islamic Republic. They simply don't have a way through this with the Supreme Leader in charge.
It's also kind of crazy that you never hear these narratives in mainstream media about why Israel killed so many people in Gaza, because obviously if you feel this way about why Iran might be doing that, why do you think Israel killed so many civilians in Gaza? Because it is completely uncompromising.
Okay.
And then my final point is this is about it isn't really about how the protesters conduct themselves. This is about what's going on inside the regime. And whether we come out with a very hardline government or a reformist government, both of those things are possible.
Baroness Kennedy, you asked an urgent question in the Lords about Iran today. What is your concern tonight?
Well, I mean, I'm concerned as Alex is. I mean, I know this regime very well. We've been, in my human rights work, I've been monitoring Iran for years now. And every time we, of course, hold our breath and we think maybe this time the change will come. I hope it is this time. I hope that this is the seeds. 2,000 people, we think, have been already killed. I mean, mown down. And they're unarmed. I mean, these are unarmed civilian citizens. And so the full horror of this will slowly come to light, and I know that Obed will have things to say about it. But as far as I'm concerned, the people themselves want this to be their base, their change, and they do not want.
Well, some people do.
Yes,
not all.
Yes, not all. But as distinct from what.
But once again, I also feel like our media is just defined by listening to random diaspora people like Alika Labon.
Alex was saying about the last election where 13 million voted and they're usually.
I just looked at this lady. Apparently, she seems pretty decent maybe on Palestine. I'm not actually 100% sure, but I'm not really familiar with who she is. Baroness Helena Kennedy Casey on Tuesday labelled she refers to Israel's assault on Gaza as a genocide.
Rural or the army.
And she does not seem to be someone who's interested in foreign intervention.
Yeah, because their jobs depend on it. They vote staunchly with the government, but the majority of the citizens are now. The difference between that election, Alex, and now is how poor people are becoming. I mean, people are really having difficulty putting a meal on the table, and that has shifted. Many of the people now who are taking to the streets are not people who would have done so before. And they're ordinary working class people who are saying enough is enough. This regime is not serving our needs.
Matthew, are there risks?
They'd be fine with a shake-up if they can't achieve regime change. Maybe, once again, like Venezuela, it's also, as I've kind of thought it might be, that it will be based on the notion that someone that isn't Khamenei will not be able to sort of weather the storm of a protest movement.
Risks, as Sir Alex Younger was suggesting, could be a reforming government that comes after. It could be something worse.
There are risks of action, but there are huge risks of inaction. Use the word fundamental. This is a fundamentalist regime. In that word,
it's not a fundamentalist regime. It is not a fundamentalist regime, by the way.
It is used a lot, but I think we become almost desensitized to what it means. That regime believe it has absolute truth, and that anybody who demurs from their version of truth is an infidel, and they believe they're doing God's will when they kill.
Like, in terms of Islamic fundamentalism, it is a totally meaningless word if the IRGC are fundamentalists, and so too are, all of these different people. So too are the Islamic State and stuff.
People, when they hit women with batons for daring to lift the hijab, when they fund genocidal proxies that wish to maim and kill, and they would kill at larger scale if they had the technological means to do so. To remove that regime would be one of the great things to happen, not just for the Iranian people, but for the wider Middle East and the wider world, because it's part of an autocratic axis alongside
Jesus Christ.
China and North Korea. And
the level of analysis going on here, it's part of an autocratic axis. An autocratic axis. Are you serious? The West is the autocratic axis. Are you actually being serious here?
Russia that want to reset the world order in favour of autocracy. Now, some of those are secular absolutism.
What?
But they share that fundamental disdain for liberal values. And yes, there could be a power.
And also funding genocidal proxies. Like, people can do, they would do more genocide if they could. Like, Israel has done genocide. You know that, right?
Vacuum. We don't know what would enter it. These things are highly unpredictable. But I genuinely believe that the risk of inaction now is greater than the risk of action.
Omid, when you saw the footage today of the thousands of people supporting Iran's leaders, how did that...
It is just absolute garbage, just talking about how, they're the ones propping up authoritarianism. What? Sorry? How many countries that are authoritarians do you think we have relationships that we fund and allow to abuse their populations just because we see fit?
That make you feel?
Well, we know there's a lot of propaganda going on right now. I mean, even we heard today a friend of mine lost a brother and made it very clear that when you go and pick up the body, you're charged $1 billion tumans, which is around £5,000, and you have to sign a piece of paper that the body of the loved one who has been killed was actually a member of the security forces killed by one of the protesters. So there's a huge propaganda push right now. There even shops, there's been a national strike, and the regime 2 days ago was begging them with bullhorns, please open your shops up, and people didn't pay any attention. And then a day later, they firebombed 200 shops in the city of Rasht, and they blamed it on protesters. So it's all part of the whole propaganda machine.
When you heard tonight that President Trump has announced that 25% tariffs will be imposed on any nation doing business with Iran, I mean, is that going to make that much difference?
I don't know where that claim comes from. I'm not actually sure at all where that claim comes from.
Do you want to see President Trump bomb Tehran?
No, we don't want to see. We don't want to see war. We don't want to see more people killed. But with all these revolutions, there is always some kind of outside help. Now, the people of Iran have taken to the streets, and every night there's more people than the night before. People are saying it's incredible. We've never seen numbers like this.
But not tonight. Not tonight, apparently.
The videos I've seen, there's loads.
Okay.
This is also such an odd thing because, like, I don't know why this guy is invited on BBC News to say this because. Like, BBC would surely know, actually, the protests are reducing. Like, this is something objectively true, and you're just going on and saying this, like, how, like, why is this just allowed to be done?
Cities, and apparently certain cities supposedly have been liberated, which is Mashhad, Tehran, and Shiraz.
111 cities have seen massive demonstrations. Yeah. I mean, that's enormous.
Yeah, no, it's still going on, but the people of Iran are saying, we've got this. We know what we're doing. If there's some kind of outside help, we'll take it. If Trump wants to do something that will help us, we're not going to say no. But there's always been a peaceful way to do it, and we're quite shocked that it hasn't happened. Now, putting the IRGC on the terrorist list is something that the Iranian people inside have said, we want this. We want this. There's a very simple way to shut this down.
What? Once again, I don't know why this guy is constantly on.
Everybody wants that. I'll just say what it is very quickly.
Yeah, go on, and then I'll
well, I mean, also, the concept of US elections and the concept of democracy is ultimately rigged by the fact of, like, it requires huge amounts of wealth to do and be a democratic party. Like, not just to be the Democrats, to be any party in Western society. It is basically rigged by the fact that you need huge institutional backing.
Which is shut the embassies, freeze the assets, and put the IRGC on the terrorist list. If you do that, the regime is isolated, and they will go peacefully within, we would say, maybe not 4 or 5 days, maybe a week or two.
As a former head of MI6, do you think it could be as straightforward as that?
I agree with this idea. There's got to come from the Iranian people.
Yeah.
And whilst I'm attracted to the idea of us doing everything we can to what we agree is a favourable outcome, God forbid we produce a kind of rally round the flag effect or an impression of foreign interference. That doesn't ever play well.
But I think this is very important. That's very important because there is a legitimate fear that Iran, there'll be a power vacuum and go the same way as Syria or Afghanistan. Okay. Now, when that's happened historically, who's been responsible for that? Usually America.
Yeah.
That's what's happened. So the people of Iran saying, we have agency. We're intelligent. We've seen history. We can deal with this. Leave us alone. But if you want to help us, there are legitimate and very peaceful ways you can help.
I also think that, like, the major problem here is those things happen in the context of Western imperialism. Like, yes, the West kind of creates those situations, of course, but just kind of insane. Like, I haven't really got this. This guy was on everything. He's not the only Iranian in the UK that they could have on. There are plenty of professors who would probably go on these shows who would do a way better job than this guy. It's all just farcical.
Okay.
If I may, I mean, one difference with Afghanistan, I mean, an area I know quite well. My father's ancestors and mine, by implication, come from the great Persian civilization. I mean, with Afghanistan, this wasn't really a nation state. It's divided into different ethnicities and clans that have been fighting with each other, you know, the Tajiks and the Pashtuns. That was never going to be a coherent nation without a totalitarian centre in the Taliban. I just think we didn't understand the nation that we were invading. But Iran has got a deep civilizational history. Before the Shah came...
What? My God!
I mean, its culture and its art and its education. My sense is that there is a...
What? What? You are right about this guy being very spiritually bold.
Potential unit.
What the actual fuck? Like, there are divisions inside Iran. I can't believe what gets away with just, like, a level of knowing anything about politics in the world. Like, I have never portrayed myself as, like, an Iran expert at all. But yet this guy gets to go on a show and talk about Iran and just be like, yeah, Afghanistan was always destined to break up because they don't have civilization, education, and culture.
Regime that could be more pluralistic. I mean, there is an historical precedent here, so I do think it is
There's a historical precedent in Iran of 2,000 plus years of monarchy. Quite an interesting choice to go, yeah, actually, they're very educated.
Fundamentally different taste.
Go ahead. Sorry. We do lack a person. That is why I think we're all going to the same place. You know, it is the end of the Islamic Republic, but I don't see who the rallying figure is at the moment. I think they will emerge.
Alex, I'm amazed you say that. I'm absolutely shocked and outraged. Are you not following what's going on? It's so clear to me. A lot of people are not watching what's going on. There are massive demonstrations. I've seen them all, and I can see they are chanting for one person. I'm not a fan of anybody. I'm just saying what I observe. Yeah. It's Reza Pahlavi.
This is not true as well. Like, why is this guy on the news? I do not think, like, monolithically, and when you look at, like, Iranians who've actually lived there, pretty much every Iranian that I've met who's, like, recently lived in Iran and has come to the UK, who are, like, hypercritical of the Islamic Republic, who talk about the difficulties they faced, are like, these Shah supporters are repugnant, the things going on with them, we don't want anything to do with this. People are actually very upset about this kind of thing and are worried that it kind of shows that, like, other ethnic groups aren't involved. Like, I'm sorry, these people don't know what they're talking about. Like, the Shah is not a figure of uniting for, like, a Kurdish person at all.
Who is the son of the former Shah.
Yep.
Now, whether...
And also, you have not in any way seen every protest in Iran.
Monarchy comes back, he seems to be someone who is saying, I don't want power, it's my responsibility to go back and facilitate the transition towards a secular democratic elections and have a government. And if people want a monarchy, it'll be a constitutional monarchy, which will be in tandem, like Britain, with a government. Now,
why is this guy on the news?
Whatever you think of him, he's a unifying figure. He represents national unity to bring...
Like, categorically, okay, right, like, categorically, you cannot pretend that everything going on in Iran, like, all of the protests are just done by the CIA, by Mossad, by all of these people. However, you can categorically claim that the Shah is an Israeli psyop that is literally being reported by Haaretz. Maybe he has gained some popularity in recent weeks and months, but he is not this uniting major figure. No.
This regime down. That's why they're calling.
But this guy is on this guy is on every news outlet, and like because he's never lived in Iran.
His name.
Amazing.
I agree with you. It is very interesting that he has got involved. I think that, in contrast to previous interventions, he has been more skillful. He's signposted that this is going to.
He's also done a terrible job. Have either of you been watching him?
Was a democracy and a constitutional assembly, etc. He's also a very divisive figure in Iran, and I think
not at the moment.
I think he.
I'm not speaking as a fan. This is what I'm observing. Sure. You can't say it's divided. Right now, they are totally unified. Sorry, carry on.
What the hell? Like, what is this? This is like just bringing on some random guy who's just been watching videos or who's been watching Instagram reels and just saying, yeah, they're an expert on this because they've been watching, they've been watching an Instagram reel of a protest. Like, what?
I think that he's indicative of what I'm saying. We need someone to rally around.
Absolutely.
It's remarkable that the Shah is making a comeback, but whether this represents the end game, I think we're in a different place.
What do we think the most effective? I mean, Omid has talked about closing embassies, etc., etc. What do you think the most effective thing the US could do now to help if President Trump is going to follow through on this promise to aid the
end US hegemony all over the world? Retreat back into the horrible little settler colony it is, and hold all of the nonces and pedophiles who keep it in power to account?
The anti-government demonstrators.
Well, I think it's very interesting, this idea that a number of steps are taken, as you've just described. I mean, I've been calling for some years for us to do something about the Revolutionary Guard, because they really are such a pernicious. I mean, the violence that they mete out on civilians is really, really horrifying.
When you say put them on a banned list, I mean...
Well, no, but there's something about isolating. I think that there's a whole sense in which people will start running for cover. I mean, the Revolutionary Guard, let me tell you, they come here to Britain, and unfortunately we don't have adequate mechanisms under universal jurisdiction. They come here and send their children to fancy schools, send their children to British universities.
Alika Labond?
And I remember when I was heading up a college at Oxford, there was a bit of a scandal over the son of one of the leading figures having his...
That is kind of wild that, like, even with all of these sanctions, that kind of shows you that maybe sanctions don't actually work in harming the regime if their kids are still coming to schools in the West.
Son having been, found a place at a particular college. And I just think that these things are going on under the radar. If people know that they can't do those things, that they are actually going to be barred, then you'll start seeing people starting thinking about where would life be better, and they might start making arrangements to move to other places.
Well, I hate to say it, I'm a great patriot, but I don't think what we do has any significance or relevance at all beyond symbolism. I would designate them a terrorist organisation. I don't think it'll make a material difference to what actually happens.
Yeah, the universities in the UK are staying afloat thanks to the foreign student fees that are being paid to the foreign fees being paid to our universities.
In Iran, I think we have to accept that we are no longer a major player in world affairs.
She is someone, by the way, who's referred to what Israel is doing in Gaza as a genocide. I think she's just talking about, like, the undeniable repression that the Islamic Republic has inflicted on its people. Like, this is not someone who is like someone who... this is not someone who sits here and like only cares about Iran, it would seem.
We're regarded as a fading power, and I wish we can do something about that.
Do you accept that, Sir Alex, as a former...
I want to talk about America, actually.
Oh, OK, well, we'll just finish your point, Matthew Said, and then I will go back to Sir Alex.
What was I saying?
We're not a major power.
Okay.
The UK is not a major
by the
power.
way, I say that as a patriot. I want to recover...
Who's this guy on the end just, like, writing things down? What's that all about?
I think we can do it. I'm an optimist. However, the only country that can make a material difference there is the United States. I have great reservations about the Trump presidency and its foreign policy, but I do think, given the
It's so funny as well, like, talking about great reservations. It is just humiliating us.
Assets they have. What they did in Iran with the bunker buster bombs to, as Trump puts it, obliterate their nuclear capacity, to go and get Maduro without the loss of life. If I could see, if one understands...
100 Venezuelans died now.
Some people were killed.
By the way, I'm not saying it's a good thing, but it means that there was no loss of life for the Americans. There was great loss of life. Forgive me. Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
At least she mentions it.
There wasn't loss of life for the Americans.
But I do think that if they could do it, and I'm sure they have the means to do it.
What could the US do that would be effective?
It was really clear. This is about the economy, all right? There's not enough to eat in Iran. The reason for that is because of the sanctions, and the sanctions are in place because of Iran's nihilist total resistance policy conducted by Khamenei. Donald Trump has got to go and say, we want to do a big, beautiful deal. Ditch the nukes, ditch the proxies, ditch the ballistic missiles. We lift sanctions.
What? Honestly, why should they ditch the ballistic missiles? Why should they ditch relationships? By the way, calling everything proxies is ridiculous, but Israel has a far more expensive, a far more significant military. The US is not moving downwards in terms of its military capacities, and they have shown over and over again that they will threaten your sovereignty, that they will go into your country and destroy it if they want to. Why should Iran ditch all of those things?
And that puts Khamenei in an impossible position. That is a practical thing that will lead to progress rather than...
Would that work?
I totally disagree. I think at the end, no, sorry. I like you, that's why I'm disagreeing. I totally disagree, because it's been shown. A country is given sanctions. First of all, it's never the government, it's the people who suffer. But whenever you give sanctions, you're expecting...
So why are you in favour of Britain doing anything more?
Some kind of behavioural change. We haven't seen any behavioural change from this regime for 46 years. It would be like being attacked by a bunch of zombies and then politely asking them to consider a vegan diet. That's what we're talking about right now.
Iran, ever since they came to power, they were pretty much sanctioned, right? Like, pretty much since their inception, they were sanctioned because the US didn't want a government that was, like, even vaguely unaccountable to them. Yeah, straight away in 79, Washington halted oil imports from Iran and froze $12 billion in Iranian assets. In 1995, then President Bill Clinton issued an executive order preventing US companies from investing in Iranian oil and gas and trading with Iran. He banned US trade with Iran and investment in the country. A year later, the US Congress passed a new law that the US government imposed sanctions on foreign firms investing more than $20 million a year in Iran's energy sector. Why are you in favour of the sanctions?
So no, there has to be strength.
Would that be behavioural change?
I think, look, at the end of the day, I think Khamenei, from what we're hearing, is in a bunker right now. That's what we're hearing. We're not so sure. We're hearing he's a bunker, and people.
We're hearing. Who is hearing this?
They're frightened by the sheer numbers of people. I don't know where you're getting "not tonight." That's not true. I have to say I'm a little bit disturbed as well that you started this whole show with the regime's perspective when actually what we're seeing is a huge movement. And
this is deranged. This guy is just like straight up deranged. And like, what are you talking about here? Why can't you confront the reality of like, hey, the protests have reduced?
Unprecedented courage of the people of Iran. Now, one thing I want to say, either you support it or people keep their mouths shut, because people are saying this is Israeli-led, it's American-led. No, this is what's leading to people being killed on the streets. So we either support them or we keep quiet.
Yeah, I mean, I cannot believe that this guy gets just insane amounts of regular media appearances when there are way, way, way more expert people on Iran who could be talking about this. I just want to see if there's any... Oh, fuck. Okay, yeah, I don't know when this is going to happen, but probably is going to be today that Israel is going to strike Iran.
It is utterly ridiculous.
Bobo Honkins, thank you for subscribing. You're the 84th member on our goal to reach 100 members. I don't know what our actual count is, but thank you so much for subscribing and supporting the channel. But Lufthansa has become the first major carrier to signal a significant pullback from Israel's skies, telling staff to prepare for an exit from the country and announcing a wide suspension of flights amid growing safety concerns. Wow. Okay. Okay, right. The truth is that it's not only sanctions. Sanctions / too ambitious with helping the region, but also we've been in an accelerated economic decline, nearly global. People can't afford shit. Yeah, and also I think that like a lot of Iran was a country that was experiencing pretty like good growth in before the major sanctions came in. However, I think you also have to factor in, you know, the oil boom and the oil bust, and it's kind of like, who knows where that would have gone. And there's definitely mismanagement and things that the Iranian government could have done better. It's like all of these things. I don't think we should just have binary views that this is all CIA, Mossad. Like, yes, they're the ones who stand to profit. They are probably in some ways influencing and trying to hijack these protests. And like right now, they seemingly have to be able to push Trump towards a major strike on Iran. And, you know, Bari Weiss media has basically told you that 12,000 people have died there. And because CBS is like a semi-respected outlet, her saying 12 to 20,000 is treated seriously. Like, this has been bought by a Zionist billionaire, David Ellis. They've put in a talentless hack Zionist who really has very limited motion beyond her good ability at courting billionaires, you know? As a Lebanese person, I feel this sometimes when I see Lebanese people thinking that if you surrender, you will be fine. That's obviously untrue. Like, yeah, there has been a surrender, and Israel is just like, we are going to bomb you forever. We are probably going to cleanse the... we are probably going to ethnically cleanse a major part of the... a major part of southern Lebanon. And then in Gaza, the West Bank is the better example. The West Bank surrendered. Abbas did the one-gun policy. He dismantled the vast majority of, like, independent resistance groups, brought them under the rubric of the security forces, and that's apparently, like, that's not good enough. And look what's happening in the West Bank. You know? Wants to control the world for Israel. I don't think the West wants to control the world for Israel, by the way, entirely. The West is proving again and again why they need nukes. They's a bit unclear. Do you mean the West there? And yeah, they're still bombing in Gaza after a ceasefire, after we're apparently moving to phase 2, you know? I was saying everyone in Iran was a terrible anti-Semite. Yeah, of course they were, but now apparently everyone in Iran loves Israel and all of this stuff. I don't fucking know. Actually, no, they haven't been saying that. They've been trying to push this narrative of, like, a great historical friendship between the Israelis and the Iranian people. Let's see if Al Jazeera is reporting anything. Yeah, I mean, Al Jazeera is reporting that probably there's going to be a strike. No, I know you meant Iran, by the way. I know you meant Iran. Bet, I was just saying. My entire country loves to bootlick. Incredible how much USAID power has been able to achieve. Yeah, I mean, most people just want to lead a normal, ordinary life. And if there are some people dying off in faraway places, they're kind of happy and fine with that. So these are apparently the main developments. US and UK have evacuated personnel. We know that. Trump has warned of very strong action against Iran. He urged Iranians yesterday to keep protesting, saying help is on the way. Tehran sent missiles to the... okay. That's a bit of a misleading one. Tehran sent missiles to the US major base in June, so that's Al Udeid. The flow of information coming out of Iran is still piecemeal due to the internet's blackout, although death toll updates and reports of barbarous state violence have emerged in phone calls. Brilliant. But yeah, I mean, we are getting European groups apparently European officials saying there's going to be a bombardment. We are seeing Lufthansa pulling back and all of these things. So... Sorry, I've lost my stream document, but that was something I wanted to pull up. Right, let's have a look. Let's have a look at what everyone's favorite Iranian propagandist, Elika Mojtahedzadeh, the queen who is Elika Mojtahedzadeh, not doxing. Her name is on the internet, undeniably. Yeah, but yeah. Let's have a look what she's got to say on News Nation with Cuomo.
Hey, all you good people who say you want people to free themselves and to be freed from oppressive regimes around the world, why don't you give a rat's ass about Iran? Thousands of Iranians, just like you, are risking it all. Dozens have been killed, thousands arrested and perhaps disappeared. They're doing this against the worst Islamist regime on the planet. How come it doesn't get the attention that we've seen before? Iranian-American attorney, human rights influencer, Elika Laban tweeted today, "The Iranian people are coming for the terrorists. Stand back."
That is such a lame tweet, by the way. And her profile picture, that's not even her profile picture. Her profile picture is this. That is a hilarious profile picture. My God.
Go time. My friend Elika joins me now. Happy New Year. Thank you for being here. You know, with your tutelage and urging, I have been on this every time it has bubbled up and have been hoping for more. What does go time mean this time?
Go time means that the people are out in the streets more than they've ever been in all these past 3 years.
Go time!
Since the Massa Amini revolution kicked off in 2022,
ridiculous.
That was more than...
Her nose is looking crazy. Charlie Kelly, what the fuck is a human rights influencer? My brother, I don't know. Thanks for the $2. Who knows? Who knows?
3 years ago now, we have never seen this unprecedented level of uprisings in Iran, which is basically testimony to the entire nation saying no to the Islamic regime and coming out in droves to free themselves from the terrorist regime.
Now, you've told...
Once again, you support Israel.
Told me many times.
Using the term terrorist regime when your money is just tied to supporting Israel. Kind of hard to, you know, listen to anything you say and take it seriously.
Times that Americans need to pay more attention to what has happened in Iran because you see echoes of the fundamentalism.
Yeah. Yes, so, you know, Iran started with exactly the same backstory. You know, there was this sort of socialist promise that came to Iran that said essentially, you know, the way that you're going to free yourself and find this utopia is if you fight Western imperialism. It's Western imperialism that is your enemy. And it was that socialist lie that essentially fermented the 1979 Islamic Revolution that led to where we are.
The Islamic Revolution was in part related to, like, economic downturn, the Shah's liberalizing policies, many people still living in poverty, and his very close proximity to the West. Like, a lot of his policies were basically just like surface level that looked good from the outside, but kind of didn't really have the effect that people would have hoped of, like lifting people out of poverty, improving the lives of the majority of people. It wasn't a socialist lie. There were tensions between the left and the Islamists, especially Democrats and Islamists as well, in part because the CIA, right? The CIA and and the British, I'm not going to guess MI5 or MI6, but anyway, what they did, right, was they basically used to go and bomb the clerics' houses, and they would pretend that they were, you know, that they were basically democratic protesters, Mossadegh supporters. That was in part to foment the coup against him. The notion that this might not be happening today and dismissing that instantaneously is kind of ridiculous, especially with that report from Reuters that apparently Kurdish separatist groups were trying to cross across the border
today, because people believed this dream that socialism was the answer, this dream that everything could be free, this dream that...
You know, she got a book deal. It is genuinely amazing what using your identity for evil can do for you. Alika Mojtahedzadeh is writing a book about extremism. She didn't even know what 12er Shi'ism was. She didn't even... By the way, I'd recommend you check out my old YouTube video about this, like my long essay about it. She didn't know what 12er Shi'ism was. She didn't know whether she was a refugee or an asylum seeker. She's just a total liar. She just tells you that socialism is making everything free. It's such a funny grift. Fair play to her.
Humanity and all of these, you know, intoxicating Marxist buzzwords were going to be the way to free ourselves from oppression. They discovered soon after that was just what I call a great lie. And the reason that I tell Americans to pay attention to what is going on in Iran now is because they are living in the aftermath of that lie. They are not just living in the aftermath of tyranny, they are living in the aftermath of what happens when you believe these indulgent fantasies about this utopia that is absolutely not achievable and derail a system that isn't perfect, but at the end of the day works for human beings. And that is...
Like, the Savak was an incredibly torturous institution that, as much as you may hate the Islamic Republic, where do you think their repressive regime, like, what do you think that was built out of, you know?
The message that is coming out of Iran right now: do not be fooled by the righteous dream.
So ordinarily I would have said, yeah, but America's not going to get involved, not under a Trump administration, because he's America first. But with what we just saw in Venezuela and the talk, and then Lindsey Graham says, don't worry, Iran, help is coming. What do you make of these signals and America's potential?
I think just exactly the same as you, Chris.
You know, she's nearly 40 as well. The amount of surgeries she has had by that age is incredible.
Would have dismissed it, because unfortunately many times we have had these false promises, you know, from people saying that they would be there for us, they would stand up for us. We've had people say, if you go into the streets, we will have your back if they start killing you. And then, of course, everybody disappeared once the killing began. In this case, just like what you said, with what happened with Maduro recently, turns out Trump isn't afraid to put his money where his mouth is. And now we've seen the evidence of that. So now that he's made this statement...
But do you not think, like, America is the false promise of capitalism? If we say socialism is when 90% off instead of free, I am sure we could sell socialism to the British public. These people love when they are cheap.
Boldly. I think that there are plans in the works. I can't be sure, but we at least know now that if the regime doesn't fall in short order, if the people do not collapse the regime themselves within a matter of days or weeks, and if the regime does start executing people, I think there is a good chance that Trump may actually make good on his word.
Beating up on Maduro and killing some civilians in the process is easy. Going into Iran would be hard. But what I can do is cover it and make sure that it's exposed and getting the attention, and doing so with your help. So thank you very much, and I will stay on it, and I'm always a call away.
Wow, Elika, thank you as always for your powerful analysis. She is brilliant. This is her tweet from when Iran was getting bombed by Israel. It's so weird being Iranian right now, scrolling through my feed and seeing all my fellow Iranians praying for freedom, and seeing every white leftist and terror sympathizer praying the oppressor wins for humanity. Jesus Christ. Also, by the way, once again, just such a major disservice to Iranians. Such a major disservice to Iranians and people who want peace. Like, this is all just a grift as well, by the way. Here's an old Instagram post where she's calling Mark Lamont like a based character for basically just calling out some kind of racism, or like Afghans and black people being killed. But then I guess that money comes in of using your identity, and it's like, oh, holy shit. Money, 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 money. I get a book deal. I get media appearances. I may be a generally talentless hack, but oh. But yeah, I mean, also, she doesn't live in Iran. Careful, your dad might get bombed, Elika.
Chanting, hands off the dictators of Iran, hands off the dictators of Venezuela, from an Iranian.
I love it, I love it, I love it. I love it, I love it every time she says, I'm an Iranian.
I don't know how to break this to you, and this one's going to sting. You're not anti-imperialists. You are the imperialists.
I love this woman. I love you, Elika. I love the way you talk. I love the way you think that you're like, you make it sound as if you're revealing something special. You are not revealing something special. Everyone knows that you're a genocidal maniac.
You are the drama. How do I figure that? Well, let's just consider the meaning of the word imperialism for 1 second. Does that not mean to extend one country's influence into another? Is that not what you do for a living? Demanding that your false belief systems, your righteous fantasies that you've read in woefully misguided Western textbooks.
What do you mean, like Western textbooks? What? She's incredible. She's incredible. She is like queen of world salad. But I think one of the things that backs up like Jordan Peterson is Jordan Peterson has read a book. She has not read any books ever.
About socialism and Islamism, the deadliest ideologies in human history.
Socialism and Islamism are the deadliest ideologies in human history.
Be enforced over the rest of the world. That is what you call ideological colonization. You don't just go out there gently recommending your thoughts and feelings to family and friends. You demand, you enforce, you say, I want it that way. Well, who the fuck are you, the Backstreet Boys? If that isn't the height of imperialism, I don't know what is. And let me tell you something, your words are not without consequences. It is the same chants, the same protests, the same lobbying, the same demands in the 1970s that pushed the Carter administration to facilitate bringing Khomeini to Iran. And then what did you do? After your anti-imperialism brought imperialism to Iran, what did...
Wait, when did the Shah left Iran in January? Khomeini was brought there in February. So, like, the Shah had already fallen. The government had largely turned on him. Whatever you say, Khomeini was very popular. He wasn't, like, forced on Iranians. Like, he may have forced himself and, like, ensured his, shored up his power through authoritarian means. But, like, Khomeini was, like, undeniably very, very, very popular. You do not see scenes of, like, the expression of love that that there were in Iran for him if it was, like, entirely manufactured. But Alika's telling us otherwise.
What did you do? You ran from the consequences and left us alone to deal with it. If you care about anti-imperialism as you so claim, then it is time to stop demanding, stop silencing, stop erasing, stop muzzling, and start listening. That means listening.
This is why I really hate this rhetoric, by the way, because even if we follow Alika's rhetoric to its end point, right, like, why should I not listen to Morandi? Like, why should I just not uncritically believe that because one Iranian guy tells me this thing about the Iranian government, why should I not believe that? You know, what is it about your words and opinions that are so much more poignant? Because you don't come across as very intelligent. But frankly, Morandi comes off a lot better than you.
To Iranians, listening to Venezuelans, listening to Cubans and what they want. And what they want is freedom from the oppression that you keep trying to force over them and calling it...
I genuinely wonder, the thing is we'd be dealing in a counterfactual right here, but, like, I wonder what those people's opinions would be if they didn't have, sanctions on them. What their opinions would be of those kind of governments. Because, Cuba is, like, popular. And Chavismo and the Bolivarian Revolution won a multitude of different free and fair elections, right? Like, arguably far more popular and more accountable than we have and have had democracy in Western society.
Anti-imperialism. This message...
She is also looking crazier and crazier.
Answer the Iranian woman.
She also opens her videos with, "Hi, Iranian woman here."
Hi, Iranian woman here. Back again to answer the #1 question that I get asked all the time. Why will the mainstream media not report on Iran? The uprising.
I actually cannot believe that this is a talking point that people have taken in any capacity seriously. Like, the news has reported over and over again what's going on. It has been the main consuming noise story.
The protests, the demonstrations against the regime. There's actually a very simple and clear answer, and you're going to understand it like that once I put it into a conceptual framework.
I love it. I love her. I love her. I love her so much because she just says a long word. Like, you do not need to use the word conceptual framework
for you to make sense of.
It's written like someone who is trying to write an academic essay and uses words that they think are clever. I hate this kind of academia. And it's not even just people who think they're clever. Many people do write good and meaningful analysis. But this is real, like, IR speak, and it's just kind of boring. Like, tell me something really exciting. Tell me something psychoanalytic here. But let's see. I'm sure she's got something good to say.
Here's the tough pill to swallow. The reason that the mainstream media will not report
on Iran is because the Islamic regime is their ally.
Oh, Channel 4 News referred to Morandi as a regime supporter. Like, Channel 4 has been pretty good on Palestine at times. Like, they aired a documentary that the BBC refused to air. It's obviously not perfect, but, like, they called Morandi a regime reporter. It's insane.
Okay, their ally in what? Their ally in the war on the West.
Oh, my God. Oh my Jesus Christ. This woman's analysis is fire. It is poignant. She is a brilliant lady. And all of you in the chat who are saying mean things about her, saying that she's stupid, saying that she doesn't know what she's talking about, I said that she'd never read a book. I am wrong. She's operating on a plane that none of you get at all. The Islamic Republic is actually allied with mainstream media in a war on the West.
War on the West was originally fought by the communists against the West. Now the baton has been passed to the Islamists. Now here's where
By the way, this is like really, really, really stupid rhetoric, and it's actually more the inverse. The West needs an enemy as a legitimizing thing, because it is very obvious that our lives are not good enough, that they are not acceptable, that we are currently living in situations where incredibly, incredibly rich countries are not doing, not doing good and beneficial things. You know? Like, we're not doing incredibly good and beneficial things for the vast majority of people who have inhabited our countries, who live there. And so we pick on some enemy that then go, look, life is worse there, and we have an eternal war with it. George Bush literally imagined an eternal crusade through the war on terror. He was like, oh, it's going to be incredibly long. And it was. We need it to legitimize us, to drive us forward, because we're not really united. Our societies aren't really going anywhere meaningful, and it helps us from ever confronting the existential questions that we're facing.
it gets interesting. The Islamists are not alone in their war on the West. They're actually working with their allies who are internal. Okay, so the Western left are their allies, but it's not just the Western left anymore. There's
This is genuinely like mentally deranged conspiracy theory.
now been a fusion between the woke left and the woke right.
One of the best ones is where she claims Trotskyites are responsible for this. Like, what do you mean? The Socialist Workers' Party are like the most significant Trotskyites that are Trotskyists that existed in Britain, and it's not like they have a major sway over the media, but you know, we'll maybe get to that.
Made a super pact, right? They are now the super woke. So the Islamists
Punch a Nazi twink. What is that name? You literally say the same about the Western Zionism, Kanzler, and demand the destruction. How is she wrong? What are you talking about? What are you talking about here? I think that a system of Western imperialism that has kept black people down internally, that has murdered huge amounts of indigenous people, that continually fails to look after its poor. I don't think capitalism should persist, no. I think it is a total failed thing where huge amounts of people have been killed on the basis of maintaining this status quo. Huge amounts of people in Middle Eastern countries, and none of us give a damn about it. You know? Like, I'm sorry. This woman is not someone who hopes for something good. She is someone who is entirely allied with Israel. She is probably being paid by Israel. There are photos
It is utterly ridiculous.
There are photos of her and Reza Pahlavi together. You can literally find them if you want. She is not a good person. Arabs murdered 10 times more. Can you give me an example? Okay, how many people were murdered in the Arab slave trade, and what's your source of that? Like, what do you know about the Arab slave trade? Like, please do tell me. Please do tell me what you actually know about the Arab slave trade. I'm really interested. Arabs are the most racist. Yeah, okay. Brilliant. Brilliant. Arabs are the most racist. Did the Arabs murder tens of millions of indigenous people in the last, 300 years? Did that happen? Do they still keep indigenous people down? Do they do that across the world? Do Arabs have the highest arrests of indigenous people in Australia? I don't think Arabs are perfect. I don't think Arab political parties are perfect. I don't think governments in the Middle East are perfect. I would like to see meaningful change. My analysis is just not stupid.
Are in an alliance with the super woke to destroy the Western world. Now you have the foundations. Let's talk about the role of mainstream media. Mainstream media, okay, their responsibility in this war is to manage your perception, how you see the world.
It's really funny because she's just reversing something that is actually true. Yes, mainstream media is managing your perception and telling you Iran, big bad evil, and legitimizing Western strikes and assaults on these spaces and places.
How you see the world is shaped by what you are exposed to. Therefore, the mainstream media is curating an alternative universe where you see exactly what they want you to see in accordance with this story that they're creating. What is that story? The story is that the West is the source of all evil and the jihadists are actually just oppressed freedom fighters. So what happens? Let's put our thinking caps on here. What happens when the media exposes the truth of what is happening in Iran? What's happening?
Where do you think our media is constantly talking about jihadists being oppressed? Because within the category of jihadists, you include Palestinians within that. They are objectively the oppressed people by a despicable state that is Israel, that has unequivocal backing from the West.
What's happening in Afghanistan, what's happening in Yemen, what's happening in Sudan, what's happening in the Congo, what's happening in Nigeria, what's happening in Lebanon, what is happening in Gaza under Hamas.
Genuinely, bringing up Gaza under Hamas, insane. Insane. Hamas have not genocided and sought to ethnically cleanse the vast majority of Palestinians in Gaza.
What happens is that very carefully constructed illusion.
I can't believe... The reason that she's taken seriously is because mainstream media bring her on.
That they've been training your perception through collapses like a house of cards. The reason they cannot tell you what's going on in Iran is because it exposes their ally in the war on the West. The media is not here to offer you truth. The media is here to manage your perception. And it does that by exposing you only to heavily manipulated information that supports their narrative.
The fact that there is just no basis in reality. God, you have made a new account to come on and tell me that I'm having a gangbang with Jackson Twinkle, Owen Jones, and myself. Do you honestly think I would care if I were gay about these comments? Do you honestly think that they are going to upset me? That somehow calling me gay is some kind of meaningful thing? Like, Jesus Christ, bro. Like, why are you just Alika? Are you Alika Lebon?
This one time and one time only, because I have reached my absolute limit. Yesterday, the anti-Zionist club, such as Owen Jones and Anna Kasparian, decided to take to the internet to speak against helping the people of Iran.
Opposition to all Western intervention. But regime change should not be spurred by the United States and Israel.
Claiming that the Iranian people don't want intervention. Well, isn't it so funny how those same people for the past 2 years were demanding intervention in Gaza, yet suddenly the shoe is...
We are literally demanding something that you already have against Iran. Like, we already have government opposition, major condemnation. And our media actually does speak out about Iran. Our media actually does say things about what the Iranian government is doing. And in many ways, they exaggerate and inflate the threat. I want to remind you of a cartoon that appeared in The Guardian. Oh my God, there's another one. Thank you, Ella Baron. This lady's always doing bad cartoons. Where's her Ayatollah cartoon? I'm trying to find it. Okay, I can't find it. That's annoying. Oh, no, wait, no, I know where it'll be. Where is it? Okay, I can't find that cartoon. That's annoying. Oh, well.
Was on the other foot when Israel's on the other side of the story. Isn't it funny how that works? That's because they do not care about Iran. They care about their obsession with hating Israel, even at the cost of our lives. You don't know what the people of...
You care about your obsession with hating Islamists and making money at the cost of Palestinian lives.
Iran want. You don't know because you've never bothered to listen to them. If you had, you would know that they've been screaming through...
Bro, I was just listening to Professor Morandi. He's Iranian. He told me what's going on over there.
Through these internet blackouts that they want help, that they will not survive without it. Your talking points, your stories, your narratives, they are nothing but myth. You do not know the story of Iran. That's why you sit there regurgitating...
I'm not sure you know the story of Iran, Alika.
Khomeinist talking points, saying that the Shah was an evil dictator. You have no idea.
That's not a Khomeinist talking point. That is just a material truth. And by the way, it's also a reality that was recognized by a lot of people who were not just fans of Khomeini.
You have no idea who the Shah was. Do you know why? Hundreds and thousands, if not millions of people are in the streets today chanting Javid Shah, which means long live the king, which, by the way, you wouldn't know because you don't speak our language. The reason that they're chanting Javid Shah is because they woke up from the Khomeinist lie that you keep perpetuating. It was Khomeini who declared that the Shah was an evil dictator.
Do you know Khomeini went to prison for calling the Shah something like a miserable and wretched man?
Every independent reporter, after the fact, reduced his number of 100,000 political prisoners down to 3,000, down to 1,000 a year before the revolution. And guess what? The overwhelming majority of...
By the way, like, why people revolted against the Shah as well has a lot to do with the Islamic period of mourning. There was kind of like this cyclical thing of... There would be a massive massacre of people, and then 40 days later, there would be a protest, because that's when the period of mourning ends in, like, Islam. I think it's general. I sometimes thought it was Shia Islam. But yeah, these people would, like, protest, and then there would be another killing. The idea that Khomeini tricked everyone into thinking that the Shah is bad is, like, the most insane thing imaginable. Even people who are, like, very anti-IRGC, who are libbed up on Palestine, who are serious reporters on... who are serious, like, academics and stuff on Palestine, on Iran, would not say that, like, yeah, the Shah was not brutal or authoritarian.
Those political prisoners were Marxists and Islamists and separatists who wanted to destroy Iran. Those lies that you were important...
It's also amazing because you're like, you repeat these talking points and then you're like, oh, separatists. Bro, do you not think that there were separatists protesting recently, like Kurds and stuff? She doesn't even like Kurds.
Reporting into Iran while muzzling the voices of the Iranian people, that is your Western imperialism. And just like true imperialists, you do it with such colonized emotion. You colonize our passion. Veins bulging out of...
You decolonize our passion. In another life, Alika Labon would be running like a decolonize polyamory Instagram.
While you screech your lies over the Iranian people as if you're one of us. As if the pain of our ancestors runs through your blood. You are imposters. You are impersonators. You are a lot of things, but God help me, you are not.
I love her. I love her. I love her. I love the, like, faux emotion she pours into everything she does. This notion, like, once again, you can look into who her dad is. It is not a secret. She has posted images of her father. Her father works in Iran currently.
One of us. Worse than all of those things, you are leeches of our time, of our energy, of our resources that we're supposed to be pouring into Iran right now, into the 12,000 massacred, into Irfan Soltani, who is set to be hanged from a crane tomorrow for protesting. Yet, we have to sit here going back and forth with you to correct the damage from these false narratives that you are propagating to your million-strong audiences. And spare me your tired accusations. Call me a Zionist stooge. Call me a CIA agent. Call me a Western lackey. We've heard it all before. But good luck convincing your audience that the millions of Iranians calling for the Crown Prince and demanding intervention are all Zionist stooges. Your propaganda tactics died with the Soviet Union. Orwell already warned us in 1984 how you turn us all into unpersons, how every enemy of your ideology becomes a fascist, a lackey, a stooge. So
Alika, what are you doing here? Like, none of the words what you are saying here, all of the things that you are contextualizing, and these claims about Marxists and Islamists and all of this stuff, you are making this up. You are literally inflating all of this stuff about how, like, oh, there are all of these evil people who are taking over the world. It is insane, Alika. Alika, please take a break. Alika, we love you. We want to decolonize your emotions, Alika.
Over. It is over for you Western imperialists. We are done with the boots of your ideological colonization in our homelands. And I promise you one thing. When this Islamic regime is in the ash heap of history, which it very soon will be, you will not be remembered as the humanitarians of our time with glowing reputations. You will be remembered as the greatest tools of oppression, of tyranny, of totalitarianism.
This rhetoric is also just so insane in the context of the MENA region, because if your actual problem is, like, you know, authoritarianism and all of this stuff, you would have to reckon with the fact that, like, the West is the far bigger spreader of that and plays, like, our governments play a way bigger role in that than, you know, random leftists on the internet who talk about Iran.
Of terror of our time. Get out of Iran, and for the love of God, stay out.
Okay, we need to hear this.
Without knowing who killed Charlie Kirk, I can tell you what killed Charlie Kirk. And the reason I can tell you that is because it is part of a pattern. And that is a pattern that can no longer be ignored. I will remind you once again, the October 7th massacre, the killing of the healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, the indifference or celebration to the submarine deaths, the killing of 2 Americans because they were Zionists, the Molotov cocktail that killed somebody for saying bring them home, the Wall Street killings, and now the killing of Charlie Kirk. Do you know why we have to be very specific about identifying the root of that pattern? Because we cannot fix what we don't acknowledge. So let's acknowledge it. Yes, it is true that political violence is committed by both far-right extremists and far-left extremists.
The concept of political violence, and even speaking about it in a context and blaming it on, and like equivocating on whether the far left or the far right are perpetrating it more, undeniably political violence is perpetrated by our governments to a greater extent than both of those, and most of it is done in service of maintaining a status quo of oppression and authoritarianism that you back up because you pretend that it is just Iran. I also saw a truly amazing comment here. Hold on, I just want to read this comment. Hold on, excuse me. Sorry. I just looked at Nick Fuentes and Jackson Hinkle page, and it looks like Chris posts. They post the same content against Israel, non-stop. How is she wrong? Didn't a gay left-winger kill Charlie Kirk? Candace Owens is saying the same thing Chris is saying, that Nick Fuentes is saying, that Hassan Piker is saying, that Islamists are saying. Thank you for your brilliant and biting analysis.
And it is true also that there is very little difference between those extremists when they meet.
Okay, I'm not listening to her talk about this. Fuck her. She's an idiot. But once again, I am just in awe that this is a thing that people actually watch. I wonder how her TikTok's doing. Le Bon. Let's have a look.
This message is for the Western anti-imperialists.
Okay, there's only 1,000 people liking it.
Chanting hands off the dictators of did not want to have to do this, but I've been left with no choice but to tell everybody.
I don't even want to see what is behind that. Ugh, Jesus Christ. It is actually amazing what passes for being an analysis. Like, look, listen, this is a Mr.
Now let's talk about Mr. Wee Wee over here. I did not want to have to do this, but I've been left with no choice.
Oh, wait. There is actually something I wanted to show. She was on the Charlie Kirk show.
I think that is a promising sign. If we're going to see Iran change and leadership change, do you believe that the country would be well poised to sort of be reintegrated into the international community?
Yeah, and I tweeted something about this the other day because people talk about this concept of westernization, right? And they forget that we, the Iranian people, are the descendants of Cyrus the Great.
Kouroush!
Who basically penned the Cyrus Cylinder, and that was the first declaration of human rights in history. And people forget that the Middle East was once considered the cradle of civilization. And so a lot of what we consider, liberal right now, these concepts of human rights, they did originate with people like our ancestors, Cyrus the Great. And so Iran...
An Ollie London TV clip. POV, you're living in pre-revolutionary Iran.
Is sort of like a downstream effect of that type of culture and those types of norms. And that's why it's so important to understand that.
You shouldn't have banned that guy. You should have let him have an answer to his question. You see my question. He repeats the same fascist Nick Fuentes talking points. Chris isn't a Nazi. Are you a moron? Are you genuinely a moron? Like, you think that I am Nick Fuentes? Yeah, right. Like, I say the same things about Jewish people. I believe that America is actually just morally good and that everything wrong is just the result of Israel controlling it. It's not like I talk about that all the time and speak out against that. No. I guess, no, we said same thing, so both equal same. The reason I call someone a Nazi, the reason I say someone that is a fascist, the reason I say that someone is X, Y, or Z is because their ideology is clearly the inheritant of that.
The way that Islamism has been sort of put on Iran, it contradicts our...
Islamism has been put on Iran. Are you joking? The integration of Shia Islam into the politics of Iran was a process that went on for hundreds and hundreds of years.
True underlying values, and our underlying values, it's not that we are Western, we are Persian, but our Persian values mirror Western values very closely.
And I do think that...
Wow. I really want to see her whole appearance on the Charlie Kirk show. Is the Charlie Kirk show on YouTube? What? I thought Charlie was dead, man.
We're going to have Alika Laban, who is an Iranian in the United States, and she's been a...
Has he got Charlie Kirk's haircut? Has this guy done Charlie Kirk's haircut?
A strong activist, advocate for a free Iran, free of the mullahs and Khamenei. And so there's a lot going on, and it's very hard to understand exactly what's going on because there is an internet blackout. We've got AI. We've got a almost complete media blackout from the West. There has been very little coverage, but...
It is actually amazing that this is repeated.
There is a lot of, activists
We have reports of hundreds. Some people are claiming thousands. I've seen...
He carries the fade. Jano, that is a god tier joke.
Reports in around 500 some supposed deaths from clashes between demonstrators and security forces. President Trump has been weighing in on this. He said about a week and a half ago, he was saying if Iran strikes on protesters, we're ready to step in. And then he said this weekend, quote, Iran is looking at freedom, perhaps like never before. The USA stands ready to help, 3 exclamation points. And so... there is this sense that...
they have a mural. They have a mural of Charlie Kirk up, a photo of Trump, and then Charlie Kirk's shitty book. They have a lot of Charlie Kirk shit in here. Is that just a TV with like a permanent picture of Charlie Kirk on? 10-hour looped Charlie Kirk image.
President Trump, I guess you might say he might see this as an opportunity similar to Venezuela, where in a normal war you'd need a lot of force, but he may see this as an opportunity where a couple strikes and he can knock over the Iranian regime.
May Charlie be received in the merciful arms of our love of Christ, our loving Savior.
Well, can you imagine the psychological impact of the protesters? Now, I want to be very clear. I currently am against intervention, military intervention. I don't see it as America first at this point, but, I am hearing reports that there could be carriers headed to the region, Strait of Hormuz, that kind of thing. If we are doing economic warfare, I think you could topple the Iranian regime plus the protests with a barricade, embargo, if you will, a blockade of the oil coming out of Iran that's usually headed straight to the CCP. So it's good in two different.
By the way, this video is called Hundreds Dead in Iran Chaos That No One Is Talking About. No one watches the Charlie Kirk show anymore. There is literally no one watching this. Wait, let me look at when Charlie was actually alive. When did Charlie die? Oh my god, the drop-off is insane. Hold on, sorry. How to stand up for conservative values. Debunking the left's Christian nationalism lies following... Oh no, wait, Charlie had already died at this point. Timu Charlie Kirk tries to take out the original. Who did 9/11? Oh my god. Look at the fall-off. Wait. Look at the fall-off to this. Like, they're literally reporting on Iran, and no one is watching. Charlie Kelly, you're alive? Charlie?
On two different fronts, right? You're going to choke off the oil flow.
Okay, I'm not watching until Alika comes on. Alika's what makes this worth watching. Here she is.
Nationwide internet blackout was reported on Thursday.
All right, and it looks like we have Elika Laban, who is now ready. Elika, welcome to the Charlie Kirk Show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So one of the struggles with the Iranian story right now is it's hard to get accurate information. So you are connected with...
So listen to CBS News Live.
People inside Iran. You are Iranian. Tell us what the truth is, what's really going on, the extent of the protest, please.
Yeah, well, I mean, first of all, a lot of what the media says is that this is, protests that are instigated because of economic conditions. But the reality is that what the people of Iran are protesting is the oppressive regime that has sort of had its boot on their necks for the past 47 years.
Are you serious? Alika, please. Like, come on. You don't have to just make up rubbish. Like, that the start of this was actually a result of protests at the bazaar.
It's true that sometimes things happen that instigate a new series of protests, which is exactly what's happened right now with the economic conditions. Since then, it's just impossible to count how many Iranians have taken to the streets. From what we're hearing, from people inside Iran, essentially everybody and their neighbor and their parents and even their children have taken to the streets. And it is a total nationwide protest to try and oust the regime.
I'm actually not really liking this interview, and I'm thinking it is really quite disrespectful, because where is the mural of Charlie Kirk? I mean, obviously this is my streaming room, so like I don't have it here, but I paid an artist. What do you think the membership money goes to? It pays for an artist to paint Charlie Kirk murals all over the house. Like, I know you guys might like to see that, but I haven't quite reached the point where I can get the Charlie Kirk mural up here yet. I've put it in spaces that I occupy more. I've decolonized them of the radical Marxist Islamo-leftists. And by doing that, in order to think more freely and think more like an Iranian, I've got images of Charlie Kirk painted all over my house. Murals. I've got ones of him as Jesus. I've got one of him as Nelson Mandela. I've got one of him as the Shah of Iran. I love this guy. He is decolonizing my mind. And Alika has this stupid painting behind her. What is this, Alika? Get a nice painting of Charlie.
At the same time, the regime's narrative, which we have to remember, the regime are in control of the entire propaganda operation. They're in charge of the media. There's no free speech. There's no free journalism. And their story that they're returning back to the world while the internet has been shut down is that, this is a Zionist operation, a Zionist psyop, a form of American imperialism. But what most people don't know is that is the lie that drove the 1979 revolution, and it is the very lie that Iranian people have woken up from and are now protesting again.
I would like to hear a major explanation of how the Shah didn't come to power because of Western imperialism and its desire to control oil in the region, particularly because the country that you inhabited and grew up in, the British, that you mocked me for being from, Alika, wanted to control Iran as a last bastion of a profitable empire.
Against today.
And how big are the protests and how widespread?
Monumental. I mean, every city, it's across the entire nation. Obviously, it's not like the regime is going to be tallying numbers and sending us back figures to let us know. It's not like Gaza Health Ministry where they're going to send us, accurate reporting. But
it's not like the Gaza Health Ministry. Alika based.
Essentially, from what we've heard from inside Iran, every single city in Iran is basically has detonated with these protests.
Flu season doesn't wait. Last minute pharmacy run. Line.
Kirk 10 for a 10% discount. Who up getting their Kirk? Who up Kirking it for the Kirk 10% discount?
So there is a gal online. I'm not sure if you're familiar with her. It's Tamina Debazorgi. I'm apologies for butchering that.
Tamina Debazorgi.
But she had this viral tweet that it looks at 5.3 million engagements right now. She says, the Western liberal media is ignoring the Iranian uprising because explaining it would force an admission it is desperate to avoid. The Iranian people are rebelling against Islam itself, and the fact that shatters the moral framework through which these institutions understand the world. So she's basically saying this is
the institutions understand the world through Islam.
Different than what happened in Palestine or with Hamas. It doesn't fit the moral framework of Western media. Therefore, Western media is not going to cover it. Do you think that's
what is the moral framework of Western media?
What's happening? Is that what's causing this media blackout from the CNNs and the MS Nows of the world?
Yeah, I mean, I've posted a similar tweet and similar videos talking about the moral color code, which is essentially that in Western academia, especially leftist academia, and I say this as a former leftist myself, there's this sort of framework that has been taught to American youth about who the good people and who the bad people are, who the oppressed and who the oppressors are.
By the way, this is really funny because most university professors, if not nearly all in British and American society, who are not of the same opinions that Alika holds, would be criticizing and condemning the IRGC, the Islamic Republic, as well.
And so many decades we've spent educating our youth that the good people in the world are the global south or the people of color, and the evil people in the world are the white people, right? And so
yes, Yaqub has been educating our kids.
Rebellion, according to that moral color code, is against all things white. And that is why you saw them coming out in droves to, protest against Israel, which had been named a white nation of white Jews from Poland, right? And that was absolutely deliberate.
Did our British media name Israel a nation of white Jews from white Poland?
But when you see what's happening in Iran at the hands of an Islamist regime, well, let's not forget that violates the moral color code, because now you're talking about Islamists who are coded as brown, and they cannot defy the moral color code and go against the Islamists because that.
Alika, it is actually amazing that you would dare and have the audacity to say this. Western media has, genuinely serious reporting talks about how Western media has over and over again facilitated the mass killing of brown people by portraying them as backward savages. You can literally just look at what happened with Palestine throughout decades.
Undoes their entire story. It exposes the contradiction that what they've been protesting for, or what they've been standing for this entire time, has never been humanity. It has been abiding by a moral color code which is built on a farce.
So, Alika, I was wondering if you could, I've seen some discussion, what type of alternative government do you think the people on the ground want? There's been, obviously, the son of the former Shah has made himself a very prominent figure in all of this. Do people want the Shah back, or how do they feel on the ground there, do you believe?
Yeah. So when we're looking at these protests, these nationwide protests from city to city, the one thing that is unanimous is that they are calling back for the Shah.
By the way, she has photos of her literally with the Shah's son. Like, you can find these images if you really want. In fact, I will literally show you them. There are photos of her with the Shah. 1 second.
They're saying Javid Shah, which means long live the king.
Here is a photo of Alika Lebon with the Shah of Iran. The Shah of Iran. He's not the Shah. Here's Alika at her meeting in seemingly some kind of US official building with him. She's posted it on her Instagram. I think maybe she might not be the best source for knowing about what's going on in Iran.
They're saying "In akhari nabard Pahlavi barmigarde," which means this is the last battle and Pahlavi will return. There's a very specific reason for this, and the reason is that they ousted his father in 1979 based on what I call the Great Lie, and that Great Lie was
based on what I call the Great Lie. Brilliant.
Was the ideology by the Marxists and the leftists that convinced them that some utopia was going to come if they just ousted, Western imperialism. They called the Shah an American puppet, the American elite. And once we would be done
the Shah was an American puppet. He felt he was an American puppet who had to do what America said. Like, what are you talking about?
With all of this, and, we could usher in some Marxist utopia of equality for all, right? And so the Iranian people very soon discovered that there was no utopia. It was just hell. And because of that lie, there is a very specific return that they're calling for right now. It's essentially an apology first. We made a mistake. We want the Shah's son back. We want the Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi back. He will act as a transitional leader. He's not coming as a dictator, an authoritarian. He's coming back as an interim leader to transition the country into democracy. At that point, a referendum will be opened up where the people will decide who it is that they want to lead the country, what type of system, whether
it really, like, in recent years, after a country has experienced, a revolution that sometimes even does, push towards democracy, the vast majority of them have backslid towards authoritarianism because of foreign intervention, and you are just, advocating for that right now. Like, do you honestly think that in the context of somewhere like, I don't know, let's say Egypt, that things got better because they advocated for, because of a foreign intervention of an interim transitionary period? Yeah, really good stuff is going to happen.
There'll be a constitutional monarchy, a republic, a democratic republic. But I will say that the polls that have come out of Iran over the past couple of years have already revealed that their number one choice for a leader is the Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi, because he is the only person that they trust against everything, all of the betrayals and all of the lies that they've experienced heretofore.
Wow. And you feel like that is widely shared on the ground in Iran?
Absolutely.
I'm trying to find an example of of people supporting the Shah. The Shah Pahlavi. Well, 23% evaluate him negatively. Iranian attitudes poll. I don't think there's many reliable polls that are coming out of here, and the fact that Israel had to run like a disinfluence campaign involving AI is amazing, frankly.
I mean, just listen to their words.
Sure.
We don't have to guess. We listen to their words.
No, that was a big
I have
question.
to trust you on that one. I don't know Farsi.
That was a big question we had. Was he representative? Yeah, was he representative of?
But now we've heard from Alika Lebon. We know that he is truly representative of everyone there. Okay, right, guys. I really am desperate to go for a pee, and I'm going to end the stream here. I hope you enjoyed the little segment on Alika Lebon there. So there's going to be no stream tomorrow because I'm recording No Politic here with Isaac. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for supporting and helping us to reach the membership goal. I hope you have a lovely rest of the evening. I'll see you again on Friday, which will probably be a bit of a shorter stream because I'm going to go see a film on Friday night. But yeah, thank you all for coming. There's a link to donate to Project Sarsour and also the Discord invite if you're not joined up, get to know. And I'll see you guys all soon.